Kim and Robin and Suzanne, who are joining us remotely. We'll do our best to get the camera on the speakers today, so you'll feel very much part of the meeting. I'd be remiss if I didn't start out by saying a big thanks to the Shaw team who's here today, and really to Kelly Dahl at the end of the table here. You can't see her because you're seeing me. But, Kelly came to me several months ago, and for those of you that know Kelly, she's very much an out-of-the-box thinker, looking at new opportunities all the time and different ways to approach the market. And, she said, I'm curious about your disinfection. I'd like to know more about it because we're about to launch another product. And initially I thought, oh boy, every week I got another disinfectant coming my way and somebody says mine's better than, the last one. But the fact that Berkshire Hathaway, who owns Shaw, was behind it, I knew right away that the research would be proper on the product, and we could safely go to market with it and not put ourselves or our customers at risk. We aren't going to be in this room all day. We might finish as early as 3:15ish. We'll see how it goes with everyone. But I thought maybe a good place to start would be go around the table and just have everyone introduce themselves, where you're from, what do you do. And why don't we start with Mike DeStasio?
I'm Mike DeStasio. I work in our Chicago office. I am the hard surface care manager. So some of you I've dealt with before. If you ever have anything in Chicago that's coming through on national accounts, I'm typically the guy that handles it for you.
Well, good morning, everyone. For those I have not met yet, my name is Jim Mannis. I'm the National Director of Shaw Total Care. We're going to get to know each other real well today. We're going to talk about Shaw Total Care, Shaw Pure, and really listen as well as hopefully educate a little bit today. So, looking forward to it.
And when we go in the back here, Joe, you're free to come in at any point. We start with
Vic Podio with R.D. Weiss out of New York. Operations, a little bit of everything, carpet, hard surface.
No, this is it.
Lane Brett Schneider, Lane's Floor Covering. I'm with R.D. Weiss, Diversified, and I've been in the business for a couple of years.
Jason Card, R.D. Weiss, Hartford office, and I specialize in services. And I've been with the company since March.
Robin Gill with R.D. Weiss. I live in Richmond, Connecticut. Work kind of half in New York City and half in Fairfield, Westchester County. And I've been with R.D. Weiss for a little over 11 years.
I'm Mark Arbogast. I'm with R.D. Weiss. I work both in the city office and in Elmsford, and I've been with R.D. Weiss for 10 years.
Manny Driaccio, I'm a Shaw sales rep for 17 years. I'm actually your local sales rep for your hard surfaces. I'm based out of Long Island, so I have plenty of business cards here I can drop off if you guys need anything from placing orders, tracking shipments, samples. I'm going to be the person for hard surfaces to get that for you.
Kat?
Yeah, I'm Katerina Catersano. Stay behind you.
what do you do, Kat?
Whatever you need, Randy.
Good.
The correct response.
I handle your marketing,
Yes, you do. Thank you.
which includes social media, web development, e-blasting.
I'm Kelly Dahl. I'm your strategic account manager, but she is very modest because this lady has been working so hard for you guys. We've been in constant contact the last couple weeks. I get an indicator whenever Kat logs on to our stuff, and it's 24/7 since our last meeting. You guys she's amazing, and I'm incredibly impressed. So I'm with Shaw. I'm your strategic account manager. I sort of liaise with Matt and with all of 3 of your offices. I work with all of them, and specialize in multifamily and everything that goes along with it, but pretty much do everything. We're doing a whole thing on storytelling today, And so, before we move on, there was this guy who last year applied for an internship at Shaw and got denied the internship and was devastated. And then 6 months later, when we were about to launch Shaw Pure, he fell in love with the product and decided he was going to open a dealership and exclusively sell Shaw Pure. And before even authorized, he invested money, he developed a website, so on and so forth, really dug in, and then he was denied the dealership because he was related to somebody in the company and they thought that there would be a conflict of interest. And that's sort of how Shaw rolls, it's always down the straight and narrow. But he didn't give up, and so he then interviewed with Shaw and got a job, and this is his first business meeting outside of training. This is my son, Sean.
I'm happy to be here. I'm the proverbial hero from the story, which you'll learn about more from storytelling, but I'm happy to be here. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. I hope to learn as much as I can from you today, so I'm just happy to be here.
Hi everyone, I'm Joseph Zaccow, excuse my tardiness. I work with RD Weiss. I just started within the last 6 months. I'm out of the Elmsford and New York City office. I concentrate mostly on New Jersey and New York.
I was waiting for you to build me up like Kelly. You got nothing, right? So I'm the other lane, the less photogenic lane, if you will, and been with Shaw for 35 years this September, Vice President of Sales for National Accounts, multifamily, and several other hats. So we appreciate the opportunity to sit in front of a group like yours. You know, we've talked about care and maintenance for a long time, and we thought, who better than the world's largest carpet manufacturer to take it to the street? Who better than North America's largest wood manufacturer to take it to the street? Who better than the largest supplier of resilient product in North America than to take it to the street? So again, that's why we're here. We want to be an innovator, we want to be a disruptor, which you'll hear about a little bit later. So again, thanks for your time.
Good morning, Kevin Kingsland. I'm an account executive with RD Weiss out of our Elmsford office, selling our full range of services, and I've been with the company since April 1992.
Who's counting?
I'm James McBoyd from RD Weiss Diversified, basically in the New York office selling service products. And then coming up August 15th, I think we'll be about 30 years with RD Weiss.
Hope you're making this.
Listen, I'm on the right path. I'm on the right path, I know that.
Do we have an example of cleaning carpet down on the other end?
Yeah, she's doing some fun things.
Is it my turn?
Alyssa,
Okay. Okay, hi everyone, my name is Alyssa Rademski, and I'm here with the Shaw Learning Academy. So later on this afternoon, I'll be facilitating the Storytelling in Business / Storytelling in Sales workshop. So we've got some great information about the research and the neuroscience, some case studies, and then for the latter half of it, we'll be doing an exercise. So really excited, and I'll go get some more paper towels.
I already know Alyssa moved very quickly in urgent
I know my
situations,
instincts
so
are saying
congratulations
so.
about that. But Rob Shannon, originally from Long Island, New York, 20 years now in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, made the great escape 20 years ago. All of my New York friends, they always say, I said, when can I tell people I'm from Pennsylvania? They said, never. They said, you're from New York, you just live in Pennsylvania. So that's sort of, I spend my life between there and here, 287, Route 78, if you're local, you know what that means. But came over from DuPont and in the service business, selling maintenance, and had the privilege of meeting Randy 15 plus years ago, and after a long afternoon together, I was just grateful to be part of this team. Kevin was part of the interview process. I remember saying, so why? He looked at me with his English accent, so why do you want to work for RD Weiss? I said, because I have bills to pay. And he goes, good answer. So it's been a great ride, and excited about this partnership with Shaw. I think that it's going to be a great marriage. I have no doubt about that.
So let's hear from our remote guest this morning. Jillian, why don't we start with you?
Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry I'm not there in person with you guys, but I'm excited to be here from Shaw today. I live in Buffalo, New York. I sell all over Western, upstate, Central, service and install. So I've been with Artie White not even 2 years yet, but we'll be celebrating our anniversary in September. So I'll give the address where you send flowers, Randy.
Thank you. I'm sure you will. Kim Francis? You're next.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kim Francis. I work for Artie White Companies. I started with the company in 2008, I believe, and I handled the national account maintenance for Artie White.
Great, thank you. Robin?
Morning, everybody. I'm in the Hartford office for Artie White. I've been here 3 years, and I sell mostly large projects all over New England, New York State, Westchester, and I'm happy to be friends with Kelly Dahl, that's Charlotte sales rep ever, and looking forward to learning about shop here.
Great, thank you, Robin. Suzanne? And you turned your camera off, I see.
I did, well,
There you are.
morning, I'm Suzanne Cole, I'm out of the Hartford office, I've been with Artie Weiss, I believe, 6.5 years. I'm in sales, basically work with Robin, Manhattan, Massachusetts, Connecticut. Happy to be here, thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Brian Burke?
Good morning, I'm Brian Burke. I work from the Hartford office with Suzanne, Robin. My section is mostly on maintenance. Been with the company 8 years now. Thanks.
Okay. And Bill Bonner, last but not least. By the way, I was following, the protocol of ladies first. This is not in any specific order other than gender.
I thought you were just saying the oldest for last.
Oh, there you go.
My name is Bill Bonner. I'm Vice President of Marketing Communications for Diversify. I've been with the company just a little bit more than a year. Officially came on just ahead of the pandemic. We're responsible for building out the Diversify brand and also working with all of the great brands that are in the network, certainly including the White have a with Christine. And I've been fortunate to work with the Charles Coker through conversations. Some of us from afar, but also a little bit up close. It looks like a very exciting time in the partnership coming up. So I appreciate you letting me join.
Thank you, Bill. And just a little housekeeping for the remote folks. We're operating off of a microphone attached to a laptop. I don't know how the speaker, how clearly you're able to hear what's going on. We'll try and keep paper shuffling down to a minimum and things like that in the room for you. But, if you don't hear something or you miss something, just speak up. And one last person walked in the room as Bill was speaking. So, Sunder, if you want to just introduce yourself to the team and where you work and all that.
Sure, I'm Sander. I joined Artie Weiss last November, and I'm an account executive, so I work out of the New York City office.
Great, thank you, Sunder. I just want to make a couple of comments before I turn over to Kelly Dahl, who you've heard a lot of compliments on this morning. Most of you know I made a trip to Dalton. When Kelly first talked to me about Shaw Pure and also Shaw Care, for me, seeing's believing. It's, she's a salesperson, so, I trust her, but I still want to see for myself, so we went down to Dalton to meet Jim and the other Lane and some other folks. And, right off the bat, I have to say, and I said it earlier, the fact that you're dealing with Shaw and Berkshire Hathaway really moves this initiative to a higher level. And it really changes the conversation with our clients. And then probably the aha moment came McManus took me into an unair conditioned plant, which was like 95 degrees and 100% humidity, to meet a couple of ladies that were in the, I'll call it R&D department. And they had laid out about 6 rows of carpet samples. And they had a base sample that had no disinfectant on it. Then they had ones with Lysol, Clorox 360, Vital Oxide, etc. And the one thing you could see is that with all these disinfectants, they had some impact on the color of the carpet. And that, that impact was also that there was residue from, electrostatic spraying. The one that actually had the best performance compared to one that had no disinfectant at all was the Shaw Pure. So, seeing is believing. In this case, we trust Berkshire Hathaway, we trust Shaw, we felt that we had a very accurate assessment of the product. So I came back, sold that Shaw Care, Shaw Total Care, and Pure would put us at a different level with what we've been doing. And I think the last thing I'm gonna say is that if you thought disinfection was dead, read the paper. The Delta variant is changing every day. We were talking earlier, state of New York, masks are back in public spaces. We have a couple of, mask wearers in this room today. The opportunity is not gone, it's different. And, we're gonna hear more from the entire team today about, how we go forward in, the most profitable way. So Kelly, maybe if you could, so our folks can make sure that they hear you.
I'll come up.
If you can come up closer, that'd be great.
Can you check, make sure what they're seeing, what kind of minimize?
So our virtual team, are you seeing the Total Shaw Care? Are you seeing Total Shaw Care template?
Yes, and now we see Kelly over your shoulder.
Okay, great. All right, good.
That's how I want to stay. I'm going to be the angel on your shoulder. Well, first I want to just thank everybody for time. I'm a salesperson also, and I know when you take a day out of the field for a presentation like this, it costs you money. And it may be a soft dollar, but definitely there's a cost associated with it. I hope, and the plan is the investment in time that you're making today will turn into not a loss, but a huge profit center and a way to earn a lot more money. So that's the goal. Randy so kindly talked about Shaw, Berkshire Hathaway Company. We're a $6 billion company, 22,000 people, 0 debt, largest carpet manufacturer in the world, largest distributor of LVT. We have one of the top 3 privately owned trucking fleets in the country. Enough said, you get it, I could go on. And we chose you. This is Top Gun class today. You guys are the best of the best, and we could pick anybody, and we picked you. And Randy mentioned the marriage, and really that's what this partnership is all about. We're dedicated. I hope you'll find today in the resources that we brought and the time and the attention with all your materials, and wait till you see all the support materials we have for you. I think that you'll see that we're here on your shoulder, your angel on your shoulder to back you up as we move forward. I wanted to talk a little bit about Jim Maness and Lane Duggar, and then Alyssa very briefly, our Shaw folks. Jim, Lane, and Alyssa all flew in for this meeting. They're from all around the country. And so you talk about a time commitment, these guys are all in. Jim is our expert of experts. He probably knows more about cleaning, maintenance, chemistry than, most people, well, I don't even know how to say it. He's been doing this since he was 8 years old. His father had a business in this industry, and so he really grew up in it and then took it to a whole nother level. And he really developed the Shaw Total Care program for all of Shaw. So within this massive company, he developed an entire, now what has become, division. So it's really, really impressive, and it takes a lot of know-how to be able to do that in a massive company like Shaw. So we're super, super lucky to have Jim here. Lane the Vice President of National Accounts, he hates New York. No.
Not true.
No, we're getting,
Are you effing kidding?
yeah. Yeah. So I'm not gonna let that one go for now, but so we're super happy to have Lane. He really runs the entire builder division. And the builder division alone does almost $1 billion in our group. So more. Okay, I don't even know. It's a lot. And so, you know, like I said, he's been with the company 35 years. He was actually the guy that put the first Shaw truck on the road. Way back when he started in logistics and really developed an incredible program, and through that became promoted and promoted and promoted, and now runs the whole thing. So we're super to have him here. And then Alyssa, so this is really kind of an interesting story. We were in a meeting with Randy and Lane and Jim, and Randy was talking about how this is kind of a dry sale, right? You can't see it, you can't touch it, how do you know it's working? And Randy was talking about storytelling, and Lane said, you know, that's really interesting, you're talking about storytelling, because our Shaw Learning Academy has developed, and we haven't yet even had one, a program for storytelling in business and sales. And my son was in the first training class to receive this 5-hour training program, and Lane said, you know what, I'm gonna go sit in, I'm gonna cancel my meetings this morning, and I'm gonna sit in the first hour or so, because I think it might be a good thing for Randy's guys. And he ended up canceling his whole meeting, his whole day, and sitting through the whole 5-hour presentation because of what a great job Alyssa did presenting this really important material. But we are New Yorkers, and 5 hours and 4 role plays isn't gonna fly. So I was like, oh girl, you gotta shorten this down for these folks. 1 role play so that we can wrap our minds around the Shaw Pure talk track. So when we leave today with very little pain, you will be able to walk out with a story and be able to talk the Shaw Pure Artie Weiss marriage and story. And so, Alyssa, thank you so much. She did a lot of hard work taking 5 hours and condensing it into a 2-hour presentation. So that's really all I wanted to do. I'm going to turn it over to Jim Maness, and I just again want to thank everybody, Suzanne, Robin, everybody that's remote, and everybody that's here. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks, Kelly.
Lane, do you have additional
Oh yes,
comments
I'm
you
so
wanna make?
sorry.
Not a lot. You know, when we, and we'll get into the storytelling part in a little while, but when we first started this journey with this product, with this new innovation, we had a different thought in mind. And then lo and behold, this thing called a global pandemic pops up in our lives, and we have to shift focus a little bit based on our CEO's direction. So that's kind of how we ended up with the product that we have today. So I think that the biggest opportunity for you guys is to really set yourselves apart, not just in the professionalism that you already have and exude every day, but also with a product that we believe is superior to anything else out there from a safety standpoint, from a materials compatibility standpoint, and from the absolute no risk liability part of it as well. Because again, being part of a company like Berkshire Hathaway, we have to dot the I's and cross the T's beyond reproach. Because obviously, if you turn on the TV, it won't be long before you see a legal ad. So we've got a monstrous environmental health and sustainability department, a even bigger legal team, and quite frankly, that's why we're just now getting it to really, this is our first really national presentation or big presentation to any customer that we have in the country. To Kelly's point, we've got 35,000 flooring customers, and we think this is the best direction, not just for us, but in a partnership mode, a really good direction potentially for you guys as well, because you eliminate a lot of your competition. So again, just thanks for your time. To Kelly's point, we hope you learned something. We hope you take away something that regains that lost income from today, and again, separates you, more importantly,
Randy, we want to talk a little bit about Shaw Total Care first, and then we're gonna dovetail into Shaw Pier. Is that accurate?
Accurate.
All right, here we go.
So here's Jim Manis.
Good morning. Got all the niceties out of the way, buckle up, tray tables and seat backs in their upright position. We're gonna have some fun. So, Randy and I had the opportunity to again meet in Dalton, and really get to know. It's important to me, and it's important to everybody from Shaw in the room that we're not tone deaf to what your needs are. You know, and Randy said last night, if we have to suffer through another PowerPoint, and I thought, oh no, I got a PowerPoint tomorrow, so we're gonna try to get through it. So we're gonna spend a little bit of time about what Shaw Total Care is. I've also put up the website here, www.shawtotalcare.com. And so understanding that Shaw Total Care is an umbrella of our next step beyond the invoice. Think of it that way. So just like you, we understand the importance of following the shot. Sorry, Randy, but I'm going to use that.
Good.
We're going to understand the importance of our being a flooring manufacturer and selling yet another 24-ounce level loop, carpet tile, beige, wood look LVT. There's nothing special about that. What is special is the fact, just like Versify, is that we not only make the best, make the prettiest, make the hopefully the most affordable, but we also follow our shot with the back end, which is how to take care of it, how to get your best ROI out of it, and that's really what Shaw Total Care is about. Okay, so Randy asked me to kind of briefly go through, you know, what we teach, and I thought, you know, what better yet? We just finished up Shaw Total Care University, which was an internal training class that we did with all of our sales associates. And my goal with anybody that puts Shaw Builder on their business card will be the best rep that calls on every account, because of the fact that they understand more than just manufacturing, more than just color, more than just it's $6.99 a square yard, right? That's boring. I want them to be able to support that sale. So we're going to talk about the science of cleaning real quick. We're going to talk about our improvement. We're unfortunately, just due to time and live demos, we're not going to be able to do that. But I'm hoping this ignites a fuse with all of you in the room so that we can come back, whether it be live and in person or one of our teammates, to be able to go out and you know, educate on this and do some live demonstrations, because we actually have some really.
I will do that, Jim. I'll go around to all 3 offices and I'll do the live
Very
demo.
nice, very nice. So I think we start, you know, with what is cleaning. And we talk about, you know, Randy and I we had a great discussion last night over dinner. What is cleaning? What does it actually mean? Well, the technical definition of it is removing something from an area, removing contamination, removing dry soil, removing something, right? But really we need to break it down into 2 different categories: dry soil removal and the rest, okay? Dry soil remover is just as it sounds, in that it's something that typically cannot be broken down with water, or if it is, you don't want it to be, okay? But believe it or not, we always push the CRI Seal of Approval program. We are Shaw Industries. We definitely are the world's largest carpet manufacturer. But we subscribe and prescribe SOA, Seal of Approval. If you're not familiar with that, Google it. It's called CRI SOA. It's going to have this little badger symbol on every bottle. The equipment is rated, etc. But it's a great tool. There's high likelihood that your service, equipment, and chemistries are Seal of Approval. Shaw Pure will be Seal of Approval, as many other things as well. But interestingly enough, we all hear about HEPA. So I love storytelling. I'm so glad Alyssa was here, because storytelling is selling, right? And so we've all heard of HEPA filters, right? But many of us don't know where that originated from. And that originated from post-World War II is atomic testing, and that they had to find a way to filtrate the radioactive particles that were suspended on dust out of the air. So they developed, the U.S. Army developed this which means it has to be 0.3 microns, that's the sign for a micron in size, and have efficiency rating of 99.9%. So when you see HEPA filter on your $100 Hoover vacuum cleaner, it really does derive from a very expensive government program back in the day. And products that are smaller than 7 microns are not contained in the low efficiency bags. Why do I bring that up? Well, we all know a little thing like COVID is prevalent, right? And there is evidence of quote-unquote fomite transmission. In other words, virus settles on a surface, obviously we agitate and bring up. So HEPA filtration is pretty critical at this point. So first thing, takeaway, is that I'm going to ask you what type of vacuum cleaner or what that you would use in your services or prescribe to your clients. What do you want to tell them?
A HEPA vacuum cleaner.
Thank you. Really needs to be HEPA. And now you have a story to share on what HEPA is and why it's important. All right? All right. I took this picture. I happen to be a spotter for the National Weather Service. It's one of my passions. I love meteorology. I went to school for it. Didn't actually graduate because there was way too much math and I got bored real quickly. However, what's interesting to me is how much soil and particulate matter is on the move. And we're going to talk about how as human beings that's true as well. But this is actually a dust plume off the Sahara Desert that will wind up on Long Island, Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Newark, and clear all the way over to Kalamazoo, Michigan eventually too. The soil is always on the move. That is the absolute truth about soil, is that it is always moving. Our job is to stop it and remove it, right? So again, I find this interesting that if you measure dust and things like that, they're ever so. What is cleaning? Cleaning is a traditional activity removing contaminants, pollutants, and undesired substances from where you don't want it. And soil is any unwanted matter on the surface. Most of the soil is the 2 micron size, okay? What does that mean? Well, why use a HEPA filter? Again, less than 1 microns, permanently suspended. 1 micron, 8.5 hours, 5 microns, 20 minutes, 10 microns, 5 minutes, and obviously the bigger you go, the heavier it is, the faster it falls to the floor. Okay? Remember what we said? Most soil is 2 microns in size. So, and guess where it lovingly likes to suspend at? Right about here. Isn't that weird? Where you breathe. About 4.5 feet. It's ironic. So these suspended soils, why am I talking about this? Because even before, let's think about this. During the construction phase, when suspended particles are constantly in flux and suspended, you need to have a cleaning SOP engaged prior to when you go ahead and install that floor. These need to be conversations that happen while you're doing it and also immediately after, so we can hit the ground running. But dry soil remediation and sequestration are absolutely critical, okay? And so I like to bring this up to know that, we are a sum of everything that we breathe, and this is why HEPA vacuum filter on your cleaner, as well as soil prevention, soil interdiction, walk-off mats are critical. Let's keep these things outside of our beautiful new finished building or our redeck, all right? So, again, I spend a lot of time on dry soil because dry soil is the enemy of most commercial establishments, most any indoor facility, and here's why. This is actual piece of dry soil that's magnified, I believe, 10,000 times. This is actually, what does this look like to you? Who's been snorkeling before?
Sand?
Coral.
It's like a coral reef to me, right? How about this one? What's this one look like?
Crystals.
Crystals?
Sand.
Sea sponges.
Sea sponges. That's, in January when you're sitting on your sofa and you're looking at the sun coming through the window and you see all those little...
Human skin.
It's dead human skin. Which, we'll get into. But I promise I won't gross you out too much. Problem is, our world is filled with things. They're small, we breathe them, and they scratch a lot, right? So this is dry soil, and this is actually a piece of sand and quartz magnified, all right? And guess what? One of the demonstrations I do, and I highly advise you to do this, a little tip. When you talk about soil sequestration and providing a solution to your clients, everybody knows what a lint roller is, right? You roll your black suit jacket before you go out, right? You wanna make it look nice. Have one of those with you and say, well, we're a pretty clean facility here. We take care of our building, how dare you? And just pull out your lint roller and say, I'm gonna invite you, I want you to roll, we're gonna roll the bottom of your feet with that lint roller. We're gonna peel off a clean one, and I want you to roll that. And you will show them how much dry soil and how much soil human beings traffic throughout the facility. It's about a nickel's worth of demonstration, and it will completely sell in what you want to get accomplished as far as soil interdiction through mats and through maybe a better vacuum system, maybe more frequent periodic maintenance system. So again, just a little tip. If you don't want to do that, one of the things that you'll experience, and I'm sure you have during that post-construction phase, is post-construction debris, aka drywall dust, joint compound that gets all over your beautiful vinyl floor. And of course, that's either that was there at manufacturing or something you guys did, right? When you installed it, right? So carry some black electrical tape with you, okay? And wrap it backwards on your hand. Take about 3 fingers and sticky side out and go around 2 or 3 times. Then go around and go ahead and tack the floor. Because they're gonna tell you, no, that's a milky film on the floor. You're saying, no, it's not, it's drywall dust, joint compound. The darkness of the tape will immediately demonstrate the fact that this is a residual effect from poor maintenance during construction. Does it make sense? So I'm giving you 2 little things that you can do to not only explain why that situation isn't necessarily your deal, but also be able to sell in the fact that, we think we're clean, but we're not as clean as we think we are. All right? Hopefully that makes sense. Any questions? Think dry soil is a big deal? Yeah, it is, and we really focus on it. So when you're selling a maintenance package, making sure. Oh yeah, sorry.
So,
You're not supposed to ask questions.
I know, but, you know how I am, right? So if dry soil is 2 microns, what is like the COVID virus, parvovirus, what size micron is that? Just
0.000124 nanometers, and it takes 1,000 nanometers to make a micron. Pretty doggone small. Right. So anyways, yeah. They take a ride on respiratory droplets as well as suspended dust particles. So really the 2 conversations are interweaved. Even though the virus is extremely small, it tends to, because of gravity and just, mass, they tend to attract to each other, latch on and start floating around. Again, not too technical, but it's really important to, in fact, the CDC and GVAC worked extensively on, do we even want to vacuum through COVID? Because if we're not using a HEPA filter, then are we aerosoling, these particles? Question for you, just anecdotally. Which has a bigger soil load, a soft surface or a hard surface?
Soft.
Has more of a soil load.
Probably wrong.
Equal.
That's my guess. That's my guess.
So do you think that floor cares whether it's soft or hard? Nope. We bring in the exact same amount of material. What happens, and you're partially right, is that the carpeting is always, quote unquote, in the world, carpeting acts like a sink or a filter, and it traps these things. So in a I want to say post-COVID, we're not post-COVID, but let's say we're in COVID world. Anything that removes atmospheric contamination or reduces it or pulls it in to be later removed with a piece of equipment is better. That floor out there, that marble, that cultured Carrera out there, has 0 ability to absorb anything. 0. So guess what happens? We already talked about the fact that most soil is 0.2, 2 microns. So as I stroll along here, what am I doing?
Spreading it.
Spread it.
Picking it up.
As I walk here, what am I doing? Nothing, obviously, I'm very prejudicial on carpet. I love carpet. Okay, I grew up cleaning it, I grew up inspecting it, but I will tell you that people need to understand that having walk-off matting and soil interdiction is incredibly important just because of what I just described. So as you're out selling your systems, I'm trying to give you little tools, at least from a manufacturer's perspective, to say, hey, look, there is a reason why every doormat is made of carpeting. Think about it. What do you do when you put your beautiful new hardwood or vinyl floor in your house? Well, this house has antique hardwood floors. What do?
Area rugs.
Okay. What's the first thing you do? You put a piece of carpet on it. Think about it. So even though we may have a love-hate relationship with carpeting, we tend to go to it when it's important. So, remember I said seal of approval? This is just yet something I would definitely consider looking at as far as Shaw Total Care. We gravitate towards that. Not that it's the end of the list, but it gives that common touchstone approach to your products, your procedures, your equipment that you use, and how they are rated. And again, not that you need more authority in that space, but the whole carpet industry is behind you when you have that seal of approval product. So, just saying. Okay, so what exactly makes up dry or insoluble soil? Okay, so about half of it is sand, clay, quartz, the common things that you would think about, right? Believe it or not, the next 12 is animal fibers, animal hair, skin cells. The rest of it is, believe it or not, cast off from your cellulose, your paper in your house. The fibers do shake out, and then the rest of it is, some of these other trace minerals. So the total soil load of any floor is just south of 80%. Okay? So why do I spend a vast majority of my time talking about cleaning dry soil? Because it's 80% of the problem. All right? Unfortunately, the sticky, gooey organic soils that we're going to get to next, which initiate a call to diversify and get this thing clean, is what initiates the call, but we have to understand that that is only 20% or the proverbial tip of the iceberg. Okay? So understanding that that's what wears out flooring, not organic soil. Organic soil is more or less the symptom of bigger issues. And by the way, we shed about 300,000 skin cells a day as human beings. Your skin is completely replaced every, I think 7 years. Every cell in your body is replaced in every 7 years. 7 years ago, you represent nothing as you were today. You've completely regenerated. So if you're into gaming, you've respawned. If you're into the gaming, okay. But also, you lose about 300 hairs. Huh?
Yeah.
Why do you point at me? That's not fair.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where this is going.
Well, there's, anyways, so let's just move on. All right.
Sensitive subject.
So water soluble soils, and this is where you get a phone call, and this is where you're going to use your methodology, whether it be your bonnet, your low moisture, obviously, your extraction methods. This is what is meant to be used here. But 10% of soluble soils are going to be those water-soluble things, resins, gums, and starches. And that's going to be things that we typically eat or drink, right? That's organic soils are mostly comprised of that. The rest of these things are going to be from the solvent side of things, which are not dissolvable by water, which is going to be your fats, oils, rubbers, and tars. Okay? So, what does that mean? Cooking oil, chewing gum, ink, grease, all the things that we move and track around, and then the rest of it. So again, hitting that 79-21, that makes up the additional amount of soluble soil. That's the part that you get a phone call on. That's the part that makes you look good or bad, right? This, but it only makes up a small percentage of it. Why do we spend time on here? Let's talk about carpeting, okay? So when you look at a fiber that is clean, this is what it looks like underneath a very high-powered microscope. Remember we saw those dust particles and all that nasty, right? That's all present now on this fiber here in the middle. And then that's the fiber after we've cleaned it. So how many times have you went into a facility and you offered up your services, maybe the floor got a little too far gone, you went ahead and cleaned it, you know it's clean. Mike, you and I had this conversation last night. You know it's clean, but it still looks dirty. That's why. Because this scratched the living daylights out of all of your beautiful flooring. And the way we see color is pigment, and the way we see, I think we also talked, Randy said if it's in a hospital, if it's shiny, it's clean. If it's dull, it's dirty. Well, when you have a scratched surface, like this is no longer shiny. And that's why I spend a lot of time on dry soil, even though it's not necessarily top of mind and out in your face. Dry soil is very important to attack. So, and here's why. On carpeting, I know this spends a lot of time on carpeting. We're going to get into resilient later. Most carpet fibers are in a trilobal shape. Why do you think that is? Reflectivity is one, yes.
Help to hide soil.
They do.
Resilience.
Strong. Strong. What does a Harley rim look like on a motorcycle? Kind of got that spokey nature, really thick aluminum, right? So trilobal, you're all right. Everybody's right. Okay. Actually, some of the original polyesters were up here in this round category. I don't think my pointer will work there. All right. Yep. And some of these were really long trilobal, first gen. Now we're back to, and you're going to see things, our new Eclipse fiber or Belera fiber has a very thick cross section here. This is called the mod ratio. Again, don't need to remember that. But the bottom line is thicker and fatter equals it will stand up and stay where we want it to longer. Yes, the reason why the fiber is shaped like this is that as the light hits it, it bounces back to your eye very efficiently. What happens when we scratch that though? Now the light starts doing this. And so it looks dull, it looks dirty, even though you really try hard to keep it clean because the surface is scratched. And by the way, that same argument is true on hard surface as well as soft surface. That's why in many cases you have to put a new sacrificial finish on resilient flooring after a period of time because the light is no longer bouncing off that very efficiently and is scattering, therefore it looks dull and dingy. Again, knowing why I think is critical to understanding. So, we're going to talk about what are the approved methods. So we really like the chat method, okay? Have you ever heard of chat? You use it every day, hopefully. No raise of hands, but hopefully everybody washes their hands, right? So let's talk about what's the chemical there.
Water.
And water. Water's chemical. Okay? Heat, hands are greasy, dirty, you gotta use a little hot water, right? Agitation, kind of hard to wash your hands like this, isn't it? What do you gotta do? You gotta rub them together, right? And you gotta get the backs and the fronts and all of it, right? That's the agitation. And sometimes you have to spend a little time to get the caked on paint off or whatever you're doing, right? So it takes a little bit of time. So chemical agitation and time is called chat. It's an easy thing to remember, but these are the 4 pillars of normal cleaning. Now, you don't necessarily have to use every one of these each time, but when you take one away, you've got to increase the other. Okay? So it's kind of like 4 pieces of equal pie. Unfortunately, a lot of your competition that's inferior to you relies heavy on the chemistry. Okay? Which means they use a lot of detergents and soaps and things like that, have a lot of residue, and they don't rinse and remove. Right? Or they might not use a SOA encapsulant during the encapsulation process, therefore leaving a lot of residue. Do you think soap quits when you walk out of the building?
No.
Nope.
Keeps working.
Keeps working. Big old magnet. Loves oily soils.
Yeah.
It's going to suck them all right off the bottom of your feet, and it's going to look like you weren't there about 2 weeks later if you don't do it correctly. So really, really important. So soluble soils, again, which is what with anything that we can eat or drink, anything that we usually walk in, grease, tar, oil, etc. And those are usually removed. Again, water is called the
Universal solvent.
I'm sorry?
Universal solvent.
Very good. It is the thing that dissolves most things. give enough time and energy, it will not dissolve grease. I don't care how much water you put at it. So we need petroleum or volatile, what we call volatile solvents, okay, for those. So, little hack here. What do you think the safest and most effective volatile solvent that you can use to take out grease, paint, tar, oil, and write a prescriptive for your clients?
1.1 trichloroethane.
Alcohol.
I like where your head's at, though. We used to have 55-gallon drums of that back in the day.
We still wanna find it.
Yeah, great solvent. Okay, anybody else wanna chime in there?
Someone said alcohol down here.
Ooh, who said alcohol? Good job. Alcohol is a very unique solvent, and I want you to think about this. Alcohol is dissolvable in water as well as petroleum. It'll mix in with both. It's actually called a co-solvent because of that nature. So isopropyl or denatured alcohol is a highly effective spotting and or grease remover. It does a great job on embedded things that will not dissolve by water, and it's the reason we like it is because that when you're done with it, you don't have that hazy residue. Things like dilimonene, citrusol, mineral spirits, things like that all tend to leave a haze, and they require a rinse with another solvent. So those solvents work very well, they're very safe, and they flash off very quickly. The challenge with alcohol is simply this: like trichlor, you put it down and you better hustle because it's gone within seconds. So guess what you all have in your car or at your house that is a wonderful spotting tool that doesn't do that?
Vinegar.
Not vinegar, but we'll get back to vinegar.
Okay.
Is gelled hand sanitizer. That is gelled alcohol. And it's gelled so it sits on there. So if you're with a client, again, I'm not trying to prescribe things that aren't necessarily of a professional nature, but I will tell you that gelled hand sanitizer is a highly effective tool on getting paint, gum, things like that out. That is safe for the environment, safe for the handler, and it works wonderfully.
What about the color in car paint?
Oh, that's another big one. Is that it doesn't move color. It's not going to affect those dye sites. Yep.
Unless it has a dye added in it.
Yeah, no, good point. We want to use clear. We don't want to use, Bed Bath & Beyond type hand sanitizer. It smells great, but it's just not a good idea. We want the clear stuff.
But the alcohol still breaks down sheet goods, especially we see all the Purell units just damaging sheet goods in healthcare environments, carpet breakdown, vacuum systems.
That's why I like the gelled, because it sits on top of the fiber. It doesn't go. The same thing is true with the resilient products. So yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So anyways, we're not going to get into this how detergents work unless you want to see that. But one of the big things that I like to talk about, I'm going to talk about this real quick, is soft water opportunities for using soft water in your cleaning process eliminates roughly about 50% of your detergent or chemistry needs. So if you have the opportunity to use softened water, and why do I say that? Because softened water removes all the minerals that are present in water, and detergent doesn't know the difference between a magnesium or a calcium molecule and an oily soil molecule. So it exhausts itself all on those hard minerals, and then there's very little left to do what you want to do. So by using softened water, you reduce the amount of detergent that you would need tremendously. The same is true about pre-vacuuming prior to clean. The detergent molecules do not know the difference between a non-soluble soil and a soluble soil. So they're going to attach wherever they find.
How about ionized water? Those new filtration systems?
I've heard that argument 100 times, and to be honest with you, I still my science head can't get. It's like, okay, so what are you doing?
I mean, those units are like $6,000.
Yeah, I tell you what, a water softener is really inexpensive, and I made a lot of professional cleaners mad because it suggested this in training, and we went ahead and they said, great, you just cost me $100 a month per truck. They literally, I was back in City of Industry in LA, and the guy called me back about 2 months later. He goes, I gotta thank you, my jobs are drying quicker, I'm getting better results, and I'm using about half the soap that I was using, therefore you've made me more profitable. But I know I was a jerk in your training, because it's okay, I'm used to it, it's all right.
Hey, at least they admitted it, you know.
So, let's pretend we're gonna shampoo our hair, okay? My apologies. So we shampoo our hair. So we go ahead and put the shampoo and we use the water, so we got, chemical, and we're probably using hot water, right? Because we haven't washed our hair in a few days, kind of oily, greasy, nasty, right? So do you immediately go ahead and get it all in there and get a nice head of lather, and then you immediately rinse it out, or should you let it set for a second? How about that? How about those nasty dishes that you didn't feel like doing after Sunday dinner because you were too full and wanted to watch the game? And so they sat until Monday morning, and you're like, oh, these are dried on, crusty, these are gonna take some time, right? I know nobody does that except me, right? I'm the only one who does that? Really? Point is, time is your friend in cleaning. So we're going to pre-vacuum and then we're going to clean, and we got to let our chemistry sit in and do the work, right? Most people are impatient, we're all impatient, probably more so now than ever. But having time be on your side is highly effective. So as you're prosecuting your cleaning, give it time. Let the equipment do the work. I always say work smarter, not harder, right? And most people fail in that regard. All right. We love CRB technology.
You wanna say what that is? I don't think everybody knows.
Yeah, so here's a pic of this, so I think your primary cleaning tools, again, I don't think they're exclusive, Randy, but we're gonna use Bonnet, and then we're gonna use low moisture encapsulant, and then we're also gonna, you do extraction as well, correct? So we've got these three categories. So this is primarily dedicated to the middle one, which is encapsulation, okay? And does everybody understand encapsulation, how that works? Took Shaw a long time to buy into that. This is your best encapsulation tool, because again, when we go back to chat, we need chemical, heat, agitation, and time, okay? So we're gonna pre-vacuum, and then we're gonna go ahead and spray our encapsulant, and then we're gonna use this machine. Now, why does Shaw like this versus anything that goes round and round like this? We like vertical rotation. We do not like horizontal rotation. Why?
De-twisted yarns, takes it, and here, you got a flower, it's de-twisted, and it's gonna make it distort.
Yeah, ultimately, any twisting motion on that fiber causes our yarn set. And we like to have those moving like this. So again, it's called CRB. The brushes actually move reverse of each other. Okay? And then we'll let the encapsulant dry, and then you're gonna vacuum it up and you're done. Now, that is soil removal. Okay? You are removing, you are suspending and encapsulating those greasy oil particles, and you're removing them. Okay? And these are examples of different cleaning chemistry. We like rinsing, and we like bringing the heat. We work very closely with Hydromaster. They make several different tools that we like a lot. And you may think, well, why am I showing this RX-20 up here? That thing spins. But it's not actually, there's no brush or attachment to the carpet, so we warm to that quite a bit. So, something you remember, because you're going to forget about 80% of this after I'm done here today, okay? I'm fully aware of that. You're going to remember this. How about the center circle? Ooh, that sounds provocative, huh? Ever heard of the center circle? So the center circle is another way to remember chat. And don't ask me why they named it the center circle. I don't know. But this is kind of all part of it. All right? Anytime we can introduce heat back into soft floor covering, it does help with polymer memory as well. That yarn has a memory of how it was born, and it wants to go back there. So if you bring heat, it wants to retwist it and make it back to where it was. Okay. Anything that improves drying time, as you know, is very critical, and it does help. Something that I think that you'll find helpful is especially in property management or when you have a space where a client has been and then they have to get back in, it's released to another client. If you're providing those services, removing indentations, okay? And this is accomplished by heat and moisture, just again, how the floor covering was born and the environment that it was born into. We're gonna introduce that. So we're gonna take a damp cotton towel, no printing or pigment added to it, and then we're gonna go ahead and place our iron on low steam setting. We're gonna place that over the indentation. We're gonna say our ABCs or count to 30. Again, low, low, low on all of it, just enough. And go ahead and pull that off, and your indentation should be removed. If it's not completely gone, just take a laundry brush and brush it back up, and you're done. Believe it or not, the same method works wonderfully on LVT and sheet goods. Yep. Both are born in the same environment. They're roughly about 330 degrees. And you can remove indentations from both of those said surfaces with the same method. However, I like a heat gun on LVT. It's a little bit quicker, a little bit safer, because if you touch that iron to that surface, now we're going to talk about learning to do a carpet repair or a vinyl repair, and we don't want to learn how to do that just yet. So,
Do you guys stand behind the pile lifter as well?
love pile lifter, love them. You guys provide that service?
Yeah.
Yep. In summary, I think this isn't rocket science, even though I get accused of being technical. But how do you wash anything? How do you wash your clothes?
Water, vegetation, detergent.
And do you throw them in there with caked on dirt and sand in there, or do you kind of try to shake that out a little bit before you put it in? Nah, throw it in there. It'll be fine, right?
So,
Just rub some dirt on it. No. And again, so if you want to think about it, how you do your dishes, how you do your laundry, how you clean your house, this is how you clean flooring material. And I want to allow plenty of time for Shaw up here, but Randy, did I kind of give a good?
Yeah. Let me just jump in here and say a couple things. Are we gonna take a break soon? Is that why you were holding that thing up back there?
Well, I wanted to make sure that we had enough time to really get through Shaw Cure, but do you mind if I jump in just for a second?
Just give me 2 seconds here. Everybody pull your camera, your phone out. And I want you to pretend like you're taking a picture of this QR code, and it should take you to our website. And let me know if it works. Did it work?
Yeah.
Okay. Save that, and that's something that you can share with your clients. It covers really everything. All of our flooring care surfaces, how to register your product for warranty. It also has the What's Your Spill app on it, so you can just plug in. Yeah, so without further ado, Kelly or Randy?
So what does all this mean to you? Why did you just sit through an hour, close to it, on cleaning?
Have fun.
Well, the reason is, it was a little bit of a demonstration as to the kind of training that you can provide to your customers at no charge, right? So this is a check that you can write that Shaw will cash. So for example, I might have a large property management company. Maybe they have 30 or 40 maintenance guys. I'll fly Jim Madison. Let's say it's your account. It's your account. Let's say it's the MTA. And they have 50 guys doing maintenance and cleaning floors and tile and whatever. You can offer for free at no charge, on behalf of Randy R.D. Weiss, that Shaw will come in through Shaw Total Care Training and train their entire maintenance team over the course of a day. We'll do it in 2 sessions, so not everybody's out of the field at the same time. We provide catering, and Jim comes in and teaches them best practices. So it's a value-add service that you guys can use to set yourself apart from the competition. No other manufacturer is doing this right now. And again, Shaw's goal is not to help you get that one deal, right? It's to help you to get every deal for the next 20 years. So these are tools that we're offering to you that you can offer to your customers to really set yourself apart. So this is just one part of the Shaw Total Care training package that we feel is really important. And again, we could make it a 3-day program, but most of these guys really don't wanna sit through a 3-day training program, and Jim does a great job of getting like really the most important stuff out there. Not only is it the cleaning stuff, but it's how to fix a gouge in an LVP so you don't have to replace it. But if you do have to replace it and you don't wanna call, you guys don't wanna go in for a single plank replacement, that's not profitable, so we'll help them do that. And so those kinds of things that really save them time and money, that help you. And there's more to Shaw Total Care, but that's one of the things that I use the most, and I can't tell you, you do that one time for these guys, and they love you, and it's a real way to make folks loyal and really count on you for a lot more than just really what you're trying to sell. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of pull that together for you and let you know how you can use it.
I assume this is for customers that are using Shaw products?
Well, listen, the bottom line is everything that Jim is teaching can work on everybody's products. But yeah, I mean, if we're using Shaw resources, we want to make sure that, Shaw is getting the business. But so hopefully that'll be another reason for you guys to want to sell Shaw, so that we can then support you with those customers.
It works best on Shaw products.
I may be jumping in, do you offer an appearance warranty?
No.
Not as yet?
No.
Will you?
Probably unlikely in the near future.
So subjective.
Yeah. Now, obviously, our products all carry warranties,
Of course.
but, depending on what you buy, but, no, we really, our warranties stop at, from a manufacturing perspective, twist and texture retention, things like that.
So, back in the day, you had 5-year wear warranties, 10-year wear warranties, you had idiots doing lifetime wear warranties. Well, again, at Shaw and Berkshire Hathaway, we believe in putting our best foot forward with integrity and honesty, right? What a wear warranty states is the fiber won't lose 10% of its face weight over that period of time.
That's correct.
You can lay it out on the Long Island Expressway, and it's not gonna lose 10% of its fiber, so it's a bogus warranty. So what we've done with all of our products is gone to a manufacturing defects warranty, which means the product is covered 100% year 1 and 2. If there's any manufacturing defects, year 3 through 10 or whatever the increment is, it's like tires and batteries, it's prorated, but it's a legitimate warranty that has value versus an appearance or a wear warranty that, quite frankly, is gonna cause you potentially a bigger negotiation and potentially more agitation at the customer level than a true defects warranty, because it is subjective.
I just want to make a final comment before we go into the next thing. As you can see, Jim is the subject matter expert on cleaning and what affects carpet appearance. I think you'll see as the day goes on that he's a subject matter expert also in disinfection and odor control. I think one of the things at the end of the day, I hope everybody comes away with, especially after they hear Alyssa's presentation on storytelling. When we are asked to bid an RFP for cleaning, and we get a spreadsheet, this is where our locations are, this is square footage. If we don't educate the customer, if we don't demand a sit down, not send them a link to the Shaw Pure website, not send them to our website, but I'm saying sit down and educate the client, we are going to lose. We lose 100% of the time on an RFP when it's strictly based on the numbers. And Jim also picked up, we talked about the Follow the Shot program. This is all part of the Follow the Shot. Go talk to your customer, go sit down. I sat through a presentation yesterday on using video to introduce yourself. We talked about this last night versus sending an email. Your chance of even getting a response on an email is 1 in 10. You send a video or you have a live presentation, your chances of getting some business go up exponentially. So if we've all been living through COVID, we've been sending lots of emails, we've been doing e-blasts, and I think none of you have seen the dollar, the revenue line move a lot because of I look at eBlast as building our brand. It's not to generate immediate business. And I really like the build-up we had here today, because many of you who were part of the Millicare system in the early days, that is how you sold it. You educated the client to the point where price became a secondary issue. But when you don't educate the client, you're in a price game. So you better just, acknowledge that it's gonna be low bid, unless you do that. So, Jim, thank you. You really, I'm sure Rob is thinking the same way. You really brought back some ideas and ways to communicate that.
I just wanted to ask a quick question, Jim, if you don't mind. We talked about the fibers, tri-lobal, and then the last one was the 6/6 nylon with the holes in the square looking one. So what's the, how do you, I know you were talking maintenance, but how do we sell against, because the story of the 6/6 is, it offers the characteristics and performance that allow for better cleaning, better appearance. So how do you position the tri-lobal versus the 6/6?
Well, I think actually that Antron 6, that was actually an Antron 661, but, look, the tri-lobal type 6 nylon is the most widely used carpet fiber in the world by a long shot. I mean, probably captures 75% of that complete category. Going back to my cleaning hat days, 6/6 nylon obviously had a little bit more punch up and pigment hold, but I also found it I never found type 6 nylon to be any more challenging to clean than 6/6, really. There's always gonna be arguments between the Monsanto people and the DuPont people, I get all that, but at the end of the day, I haven't seen the actual, where it's, if you got type 6.6, then it's gonna be better. What's happened and what the original, 6.6 is more or less a snapshot and punched, okay, here we are in history and we're going no further. The difference between that and type 6 nylon is the porosity of that fiber actually allows for new dye chemistry technology to be introduced, which is what you're seeing today. So we're able to flood out that fiber. So we can actually take a piece dyed yarn now and make it behave like a solution dyed, even though you're not paying a solution dyed price. So because of that, Shaw has definitely invested with our purchase of Allied and so that we have been able to bring technology forward that isn't available necessarily. We do make products with 6/6 nylon in them as well. We purchase that fiber, but I know I didn't answer your question, but I don't think there is enough of a delta to.
The data, what you're saying is your research and data doesn't support it really making a big difference.
It's good fiber, it's harder. At the end of the day, it won't stand up to scratchy sand and, ketchup from a hot dog. It's all gonna look about the same.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
We're entering into a fiber agnostic
Yes.
era, because you're gonna start seeing commercial broadloom and carpet tile made out of PET.
Yep.
More and more.
Yeah.
Because
6/6 is losing market share.
Nylon in general.
the delta is greater than it's ever been, and we don't foresee it closing soon. But, because we're part of Berkshire Hathaway, we're investing another $200 million in equipment that can turn on a dime and actually extrude and manufacture both PET and nylon. It's a $200 million investment, but we believe at some point nylon will make a return or a resurgence. Polyester prices will get out of line. So again, it's like a relationship. It's important today, but we're planning for the future.
I have a question. In the past, there have been certain manufacturers that have tried to kind of capture both the product and maintenance sale by offering appearance retention warranties, that if you enter into a cleaning program using, manufacturers' approved chemistries and methods, that they will, warrant, not a wear warranty, but appearance retention. Has Shaw looked into that at all? What's your position on that?
No, because, again, how would you delineate between appearance retention and really where. Because ultimately, we do a PARS test, and Jim can talk about that a little later as well, but what that is a performance test. We actually, I think we're the only manufacturer that's still in you saw this in Dalton, although they weren't active. We actually hire people to walk the carpets. Because at the end of the day, whether it's a business or whether it's a consumer, if it looks bad, it's not performing. If it looks ugly, it's not performing. And as Jim has demonstrated, that can be the result of not just no maintenance, but maybe improper maintenance. So, you know, again, there's too much argumentative things that can happen as a result of that, so maybe, but.
I think too, Rob, one of the reasons
You know what
why.
I'm talking about. specifically.
Well, one of the reasons the appearance warranty is difficult to execute is usually the nightly vacuuming, well, it's not nightly anymore, probably once a week. The vacuuming is done by another party, the janitors. And Jim talked about a HEPA vac. Now, all the vacuums we've bought since COVID have been upright HEPA filtration units, dual motors, top fill, all that stuff. The janitors don't buy that kind of equipment. They don't spend $1,000 on a vacuum. They buy the cheapest thing they can get, usually. And so, you know, the first part of good floor care is removing the dry soil. And they've got a piece of equipment that's doing a mediocre at best job.
Backpacks.
So they can't really,
If they.
But couldn't that be put into the terms and conditions that, you know, if you're gonna wanna get this warranty, you invest in that kind of equipment?
or you turn over the nightly vacuuming to your floor
Right.
care provider.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and that's, you know, really the essence of, you know, owning a product with your client versus just installing it and waiting, trying to go to the next job.
Right.
Is that neither of us can afford to do that anymore. And I think the word warranty, you know, I'm not in love with it. If they just would listen to what we're telling them, they wouldn't need a warranty, right? But the problem is enforcing that, and to your point of having an uncomfortable conversation, when there is an issue, they feel there's an actionable item. We bring in a third party, they say, no, this is due to improper maintenance, et cetera, and then it gets ugly. And so, write this down. I think it's really crux to what we're trying to accomplish today is a conversation before something happens is education. A conversation after something happens is an excuse. And I feel that this is what we're doing here today with Shaw Total Care and also RD Wise Diversify, because we're hoping to have these conversations and these pieces, these assets put into play before it ever becomes an issue. Or, hey, we told you this was going to happen if you didn't do this, this, and this. Again, no other company in your space is going to do those things.
And to Randy's point earlier, even in an RFP scenario, if you're fortunate enough to win that based on numbers, you're still losing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, in essence, you've lost margin opportunity. So we use Shaw Total Care as a way to provide almost a guarantee, if you will, a return on investment of buying a better product. Buying, you know, something that costs a little bit more because the installation is the same, the pad's the same, et cetera. And in fact, a recent conversation I had with Cushman Wakefield was what do you mean Shaw Total Care is gonna reduce my spend by 5%? And I said, well, if you put into process 4 out of these 10 things, that's the real potential. He goes, so you mean you're telling me that you wanna sell me less floor covering? I said, I wanna sell you less floor covering over the next 5 years. I wanna sell you a ton of floor covering over the next 10 years.
And better floor cover.
Yeah.
Because some things are disposable versus maintainable.
Yeah.
That's just the sad truth of it. So it helps you in your specification be able to, you know, really specify a product that's gonna work.
You know, Shaw Total Care, I look at it as it's the engagement ring to the relationship, because it's a commitment, right?
Oh boy.
Now you're talking my language.
I have a question, maybe I'm jumping the gun. You guys mentioned that the sales team, sales force is all being educated on the Peer Assistant program? All the sales reps?
They've had initial training, yes.
And will they be part of
James, are you talking about like Shaw Contract and Pat Craft, or are you talking about territory managers?
No, I'm talking the sales rep who's in a position of maybe a 10,000-yard project, are they talking about maintenance?
You're talking about a contract, not
So-
multifamily.
So if I could,
I'm talking about that.
yeah, if I could take that, so, you know, at Shaw, whether you realize it or not, we've got two divisions, right?
Yeah.
We got a residential division, which everybody in this room is part
Yeah.
of, which includes Philadelphia commercial, hard surfaces, retail, and then builder division, which includes multifamily and single family. And then you've got our commercial division.
Yeah.
So within our residential team, we've got about 24 people around the country that we say are part of our specification team.
Okay.
So most likely, unless we have a TM on a stretch assignment or they're just very adept at picking up and adding value to your relationship, it'll probably be a specification person. Because we've got every major MSA covered with one or more people with our specification team. So it's gonna be, you know, not just somebody to go to a presentation, but also somebody to hopefully bring you leads and, you know, really create that partnership and go into the marketplace, because we realize you guys are extremely successful already. We think we do a pretty good job too, but together, that's a combination that I don't think our competitors or yours can put together a response to at this point in time.
On that note,
Quick break.
yeah,
Yeah,
quick.
let's take a quick bio break, then we're gonna talk
Quick,
about all things Shaw Pure, and, round it out with some Q&A. I do think lunch is here, actually,
Well,
so.
we're gonna finish, we're gonna do Shaw Pure
Okay.
and then do lunch. It's a quick lunch, almost like a working, lunch.
Okay,
I mean, I'm not gonna make you work through lunch, but, we're gonna eat quick and then move on because, we only have today and we have so much to give you, so. We'll take a quick bio break. Yeah.
Lunch tomorrow.
It's outside and there's a code 3693 star.
It's gonna happen more than once.
I'm sorry, Kat.
No, it's okay.
Beg your pardon?
No problem.
Right. Boom. Virtual team? Yeah, okay, good. All right, we're back.
all right, you know why the bread and milk are in the back of the store, right? And eggs, because you gotta walk through the whole thing to get to the good stuff, right? So, and it's also their lowest margin product, but, anyways, we're gonna get to the, main course of today, hopefully, and that is all things Shaw Pure with Diversify, and, we're very excited to talk about it. Let me take you on a little journey as to how we got to where we're at. So, I was actually a keynote speaker at a IICRC Inspectors Convention about 4 years ago, I think, in October. And I happened to meet, and I was up there with all these PhD chemists. I unfortunately have no letters after my name. It's just Jim Manus, and then it stops. So I felt very intimidated by all these talking heads in the room that were highly educated and many great prestigious schools. But one of the gentlemen that came up was a PhD chemist that helped develop the technology around Shaw Pure. And I was fascinated due to my background. I don't know if I mentioned to all of you, by the way, that I've been with Shaw 25 years. Prior to that, I was an owner-operator of a restoration, cleaning, and inspection business, much like what you do, in Southwest Michigan. And I grew up in the business. A lot of people think, oh, your dad started it and then you took it. Dad actually sold it when I was 18. And I was devastated, because that's what I thought I was going to do the rest of my life. And anyway, so I went out, did, whatever. I was 18, so worked here and there, did this and that. And when I was 21, I bought the business back from the guy that my dad sold it to. And I ran that until I started with my business with Shaw. So when I talk to you, I'm talking to you from that perspective as well. Obviously, yes, please.
Oh, I see, bless you.
Oh, bless you.
So sorry to disturb.
So,
Very polite sneeze.
very nice, I didn't hear it. So, Alyssa sneezed, virtual team. Alright,
Nice story though.
fast forward to shop here. So I have used all the phenols, the Lysol group. I have used all the peroxides. I have used all the enzymes. I have used all of these chemistries. And I'm not a PhD chemist, but I like to learn everything I can. I learned from very smart people in the industry who knew what the heck they were talking about, and I want to know everything about it. And so when I'm talking to you about the amazing opportunity we have together with Shop Here, it's really from that perspective, is you are offering to your clients truly the only 21st century technology available in the marketplace. Everything else has been there, done that. It is a old wine in a new bottle. This is Beaujolais. Okay? So we're going to talk about really what we have and how it dovetails into your conversations. I'm hopefully, if I do my job today, I'm going to give you the wherewithal to have a little bit higher level of conversation, albeit not PhD chemistry, but you're going to be able to speak with authority on the topic. I'm going to talk about the comparisons by channel, not by name, as to why this product is better. And I'm going to show you mechanically, subatomically, how it works. Okay? And don't get freaked out by that. It's really pretty easy. Okay? And we're going to walk through it. But again, I want you to understand that this is the meat on the bone. This is why you're going to do this, because you're going to be highly successful. And I really fall back to the follow your shot. Follow your shot. Because you sold the flooring, now sell the system. Sell the maintenance. Diversify is going to receive revenue on an annuity basis. Now we're going into places and spaces where that need disinfecting. I agree with Randy, disinfecting is not dead. And what's interesting about that is the CDC about 3 months ago, Randy, put out a communique that basically said, fomite transmission, in other words, touching this and then touching my face, is not really the way it transmits. But unfortunately, the press didn't read to the rest of the article. This was primarily geared towards the single family residents. This communication. It did not apply to publicly occupied spaces, just like the space we're in today, where you have a lot of people doing a lot of breathing and a lot of virus shed. Okay? So that's takeaway number one, is that the communique that everybody thinks, well, we really don't need to clean surfaces anymore or disinfect them because the CDC said, it's not that big of a deal. Guess what? Read on. It's not the whole story. The whole story is they still highly recommend this. Okay? And then really the crux of the conversation today too is going to be about the bigger issue, the more memorialized issue is going to be odor. Because I feel odor and disinfection and sanitization go hand in glove. Mike and I were having a conversation, it was super loud in this restaurant, wasn't it, Mike?
Yeah.
Right? So we were yelling at each other, trying to hear. I actually had my decibel meter on my phone and it was peaking at 90, which is right where it starts becoming a problem. Okay? Anyways. Deodorization, I train all over the country and I meet with maintenance teams. I meet with the site personnel that take care of, the fountains of Conroe and all these other, it doesn't matter, fill in the blank. And I ask them, what's your biggest problem? What keeps you from getting home at night to go to your kid's soccer game or your football game or having dinner with your wife or significant other? They said, it's this doggone odor issue. I got a unit that closes, I need to release it, I've got my tenants coming in, my residents coming in, and I can't get them in there because it stinks like what? What would you figure the number one odor issues are in the world today?
Dog.
Cigarettes.
Mold.
Well, you hit them all.
Marijuana.
Who said pot?
New York, marijuana.
Marijuana.
Huge.
2 years ago, it was all pet. Now pet and pot are right there together. And
I know it's weird for us corporately to talk about that subject, it's more or less taboo, but we cannot be, my dad always said, don't be so heavenly wise that you're no earthly good. Okay, we gotta be able to get our hands dirty and talk about real issues, that's what this is about, because they have real issues, and they need real solutions, and guess what, you've got one. You've got the most advanced, the quickest, the safest, the most affordable solution in the industry today. I want you to believe it, I know I believe it, I want you to be able to walk out of here believing it and sharing the good news. Okay, you're almost gonna be evangelists for the 21st century technology, all right? So what is it? You're welcome, Andy,
Yeah, the way you said that deserves it, and hallelujah.
Yeah. I'm very passionate about it. It is my baby. I helped it be born in Shaw, and Kelly and Lane and all that are present here have been my teammates and my supporters, and you know, it hasn't been an easy journey. We initially launched this product for odor, and then COVID hit. And we had to quickly, and we were only seeking deodorization tools. And if you want a deodorization tool, you don't need EPA approval. You can sell a deodorizer, you can put water in a bottle and call it deodorizer. It will reduce odor somewhat, at least for a short time. If you want EPA approval, well then you gotta go with something that's tried and tested. So we had to kind of put our plans on hold for a bit. So Randy had said, you know, you guys aren't first to market. You're actually kind of late to the party. And that is true. But understand that when you sell Shaw Pure, you're selling a product that has been vetted, tested, critically thought by a Berkshire Hathaway company, and quite frankly, for a lot of people that didn't necessarily want to deal with it. Shaw Industries has a, more or less a overwhelming statement, we're not going to sell anything that kills anything, period. That was going into this. Well, obviously, if you're disinfecting, you're killing bacteria, virus, mold, mildew, etc. Right? So right there was volume, you know, challenge one. Got through that. Then we want to make sure, obviously, first and foremost, it's safe for you. It's safe for the occupants. It's safe for our pets. And you can't check those boxes with the vast majority of the other things. How about aquatic toxicity? You may think, what the heck is aquatic toxicity? How many of your establishments have invested into a large aquarium into their lobby? You go spray a lot of other things, guess what? You're buying $100,000 worth of fish and coral, and who knows whatever else. So aquatic toxicity.
Food plants also.
Food plants. I won't tell you what some of the marketing slogans that we were going to do, but it basically kind of goes like, you can spray this, fill in the blank on everything, because you can. It really is that safe. But again, let's go to the form. Did you have something?
I just have a quick question. Is this product, because I'd heard something in the past about Shaw partnering up with a disinfecting manufacturer called ProCure B. Is this product?
This is the technology, but we've actually taken it to the next level through
So it's different than that.
Yeah. I want to be clear, is that the root chemistry hasn't changed, but when, you know, kind of goes into this next conversation, is that when we went ahead and sought EPA approval, we wanted to take, they're primarily focused on the restoration industry. That's where they sold. They were not getting downstream into facilities management. They were disaster restoration.
Okay.
So if I can add to that, the product may have been born actually out of the grow house need.
Yeah.
Because that's their biggest segment of business.
Believe it or not, their biggest driver is cannabis grow operations.
What about,
No wonder.
what about like, food preparatory for, is this gonna pass through the health inspections if it was in a?
This is actually one of the few and only products that is food service approved. In fact, if you ate blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, any other berry this morning, there is a high likelihood that your berry was treated at a very low level, probably 5 ppm with chlorine dioxide. If you drink water out of the tap, most municipal water systems, roughly 85% in the United States, are treated with chlorine dioxide. So I want to make sure that you understand the memorialized safety of this product. This has been around for 80 years. However, this is mixed in train car loads. You can't pull up a train car down on 42nd Street here and try to mix, you know, really two chemistries that don't like each other. They're very volatile, and I'm going to get into that. Why this is so different, why you have something so unique. But to answer your question, this was born out of that, but we've taken it up to the extreme next level. We've grabbed a lot of claims, and every time you make a statement or a claim, with the US government, primarily EPA, you've gotta back it up with science. You cannot market your way through that. So the EPA registration that you have, and I'm not gonna regurgitate it, it's 875, oh, I said I wouldn't. So anyways, Lynn.
So my Alabama friend here
Uh-oh.
said when we first sat down, we were just talking, and he goes, we love annuity and profitable business. And if you think back to Business 101, regardless of what school you went to, the price and the profitability is based on what? Supply and demand. You've got a great demand for your service. Problem is, you've got a lot of competitors that claim they can do what you do. The other great thing about Shaw Pure is in our contract with our supplier, they can't sell to another flooring manufacturer, they can't sell to another supplier, they can't sell to any of our customers, they can't sell to any, I mean, it goes on and on and on. So when we say you've got a clear runway to launch this thing and make it as big and profitable as you can, it's true. I mean, it's a real opportunity.
So Procure can no longer be bought directly from them?
Shaw Pure can no longer be bought directly from the internet service provider that you have.
Yeah.
You know, it's not impossible for a property management company to order a case. It's highly unlikely that they'll connect the dots. And, you know, if we find out about it, then we'll call foul and they'll shut it down. So there's some teeth in the contract.
So I got a question for you, because you mentioned Procure. You know, I've used Procure. One of the issues is kind of residual smell. It has like almost like a chlorine-based smell when you leave a space. The Procure smells a little, you know, there's a variety of disinfectants now, plus and minuses. And one of them I found with Procure is the residual smell. The room essentially smells like chlorine. And then the other issue is when you mix up, you know, when we did it, we would mix it up, and I went to Home Depot, got like 55-gallon garbage cans, and that way we could mix a big dose. If you don't wear a mask, you'll actually, you know, I lost smell for 24 hours. You know, you don't need a respirator or anything. You mix it, and you know, my eyes are watering, and I can't smell for 24 hours, and I wasn't the only one that had that issue. So that's kind of my question, is regards to mixing it. Do you need a respirator? And then two, what is more importantly, because I can handle a respirator, but what is the residual smell? Because that's gonna be the biggest issue you see. You go into a space, like we've talked about, there's, you know, 300 employees in there. Is someone going to complain that this space smells like chlorine and I can't work?
Well, I don't know how Jim's gonna answer this, but I'll tell you, if you got 300 employees, chances are there's somebody complaining about something all the time.
No, I totally agree.
So let's talk about, first question. Okay, the residual chlorine smell. You will probably, for roughly about 30 to 60 seconds, notice a slight chlorine smell. After that, it completely dissipates.
Yeah, because I mean, with Procure, that's that was the one downside with Procure is the smell. It lingers for about
But it's
24
gone.
hours.
Yeah, no, this.
If it dissipates quick, it's not an
No,
issue.
this is not that. No.
And the pot life is short on Procure,
The
right?
pot
It's
life-
shorter than.
Well, the thing with the issue with Procure is you have to store it in a black bottle because it's light sensitive. So after 14 days, if you don't store it, if it's exposed to light, it's no good. It kind of shrinks as it hits, as UV rays hit it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get into that later on in the presentation. Those are all good points I wanna address, because I'll hit them head on. So number one, the residual smell. We say the smell of clean is no smell at all.
Right.
It doesn't smell like lemons. It doesn't smell like lime. It doesn't smell like Lysol, whatever, okay? It smells like nothing, right? It smells like a mountain stream. Tell me what that smells like.
It's refreshing.
Refreshing, right? So yeah, there is a slight amount of chlorine, and I'm gonna get into that, but that usually dissipates. I've never had anybody complain about it more than, not, yeah, if you stick your head over the jug, certainly. That's different.
Wearing a mask.
Right.
Yeah, they're like, oh, don't worry about it. They don't need a mask. This is perfect.
No, our system is designed that you do not need PPE. Everything reaches well below Pell limits, which are, we have all that data for you. So that may have been maybe an older technology or something that you use memorialized, I don't know. but I can tell you that we don't experience that on us. We do have to store and opaque tanners, and again, I'm gonna get into that because chlorine-dioxide is light sensitive, okay? However, because we moved to shop here, we're actually pursuing the pot life on it is a roughly 30 days, okay? Depending on what you're doing, it could be longer, depending on how you're storing, it could be longer or shorter. If you store it in high heat, okay, it has a shorter shelf life. I've actually mixed it in the winter and had it last 2.5 months. Kelly had it last 3 months.
No, it was 8 months.
Okay, so, again, we're kind of getting a little bit ahead, but I want to basically let you know what you have, and then we'll talk about some of the nuances. Yes, please.
I want to ask a question for a friend, Bill Bonner. We need to validate that the CDC info that Jim just said about disinfection is important for public spaces.
So if you read the community, and again, I don't have the site memorized, but if you look at the latest communique, which I believe came out in March-ish, about treatment of surfaces, you will kind of be able to find that document, kind of the revised statement. Well, if they can't find it, I'll find it for them.
Okay,
Okay?
thanks.
All right. So you're going to see this this acronym EASE: easy, affordable, safe, and effective. And we use a 1-2 approach, which is liquid and gas for those really problematic spaces, and I'm going to get into that as well. Just understand that it is a 1-2 system depending on what your needs are. So this is an example of what the cost would be for, and again, we're talking about multifamily here, but you could convert this by the numbers into any space that you're treating. Okay, so this is primarily given towards odor, and we want to talk about different things. So what's a memorialized treatment method? Ozone, right? Been around forever.
Yep.
It's very bad. I don't think it's allowed in New York anymore. If it is, you have to have, is it allowed anymore, Randy?
Head shops.
I don't.
Head shots.
Yeah.
All right.
That's amazing. We had a property we met with yesterday.
It's been around forever. So, basically it costs you about $100 a day to use ozone. Okay? To treat that same space in about 6 hours, you're going to do it for about $280. Okay? That's gas, and again, we're fudging to the high side there. Your cost is obviously significantly less than that. Here's the unit downtime. $50 a day in New York, that's probably about $100 a day. What's the average rent here in Manhattan?
The average rent?
$3,000 to $4,000 a month?
Yeah.
Okay,
Studio.
right? So you can take that number and double it. 0 with shop here. Human exposure, building material breakdown, wet carpet discolorization, no issue with shop here, big issue with everybody else. So the spend reduction, you know, when you look at NOI and how you need to sell this is like, look, you've tried everything else. The reason you're even talking to me, okay, let's just cut to the chase. The reason why you're even talking to me is because everything that you've used doesn't really work that great. Am I wrong? It really isn't that effective. And that's why we're considering this. So I would not embark on this journey if it didn't matter. Okay, if we were just yet another Me Too. The reality is that everything else they've tried up to this point doesn't work. We've got something that actually works. So when you're looking at NOI for a particular 20,000 unit property, if you will, and again, I'm using multifamily as an example here, I'm going to annually return about $375,000 to their bottom line in either lost revenue, lower treatment time, etc., etc. Now, if you really want to know what that means to a building, I want you to do a little bit of math here. So, positive net operating income, you can, did we do the CapEx number? Okay.
So, does everybody know what net operating income is in multifamily? It's just rent collected versus cost to run the property, what's left, net operating.
So take whatever, let's say we save them $20,000 a year. Let's go really low. Let's say we took 20 grand a year and put it back into their budget. But as we know, buildings are sold and traded like baseball cards, okay? So what does a $20,000 annual saving mean to the cap value of that product, that property? What I want you to do is take $20,000 and divide by 0.065. And you're all welcome to do this on your phone. Take 20 grand and divide by 0.065. What's your number?
207,692.
That's what value you just increased on that building by offering them Shop Here. And again, follow your shop, but do it with authority and speak their language. The residential maintenance manager that you happen to know because you guys have beers on Thursday night after Dart League is not gonna understand that. But when you get with ownership and you demonstrate that this is because we use Diversify and this is the system that we use, this is our projected savings, and by the way, I just increased your value, your property by $200,000 when you go to sell it to somebody else. That's the language we speak. That's the language they understand. So understand that cap value is something very, very important, okay? A little bit about the system. Here's your system. So we offer this in several different venues, but we do have the packets, which fortunately we're trying to get some here today. They didn't ship in time, but we make these in 5-gallon increments. Now we do sell these in larger quantities as well. But this is basically how you do it. You open up one of these foil packets, and inside this foil packet is a Tyvek pouch. You put the pouch in the container, you fill it with water, and you shut the lid. That's it. You're done. There's no mixing, there's no anything. You wait 1 hour and it's ready to go, and you roughly have 30 days or less to use it, depending on circumstances, all right? Just so you know that each gallon will treat up to 2,000 square feet of non-porous surfaces. And we'll have all this data backed up for you. We offer we offer small bottles for applications such as, let's say I'm trying to disinfect this light switch. Now, I'm not gonna take my big old pump up sprayer and, that's not a good idea. Or the elevator lobby that I should treat pretty regularly. But I can put this and spray this on. The beauty of this product is there is no wipe up, there is no cleanup. This is spray and walk away.
Zero residue.
Zero is a big number, but the residue that you will see kind of goes back to our soft water conversation earlier. The residue that you will see is the dissolved minerals in your water. So whatever residue you might experience is going to be. Now, for things that are like, for example, darker in plastics and things like that, we recommend basically instead of just spraying and let all the droplets, you would just go ahead and just wipe that with a microfiber cloth. You can apply it either by spraying, wiping, or mopping.
What about electrostatic spraying? Because both all our offices that are doing the current spraying, they use an electrostatic setup, which.
Full respirator?
Yeah,
Yeah.
N95s.
Depending on what you want to do, the EPA has redefined that and has still not come out, but if you're using, you gotta be using less than an 80 micron tip to get the saturation that you need, and the surface needs to be stay wet for at least 30 seconds to get the CoV-SARS-2.
Right. Yeah.
Okay? So we don't really get into specifying application systems, just how long the dwell time needs to be.
Because like using electrostatic sprayer versus like that pump sprayer, you would probably get more than 2,000 square feet.
But if you're deodorizing, more is more, not less is more.
Okay.
If you're disinfecting, that's a different story. But if you want to deodorize, I want you to hammer whatever you're going after.
Okay.
People where they fail is they use too little. They're trying to conserve it, and I'm going to go into why that's a bad idea. But this is basically the system. We are selling, whether you're selling the service, this probably wouldn't look like you, but if you are just reselling the product to a property manager or facilities manager that wants to do this themselves, this would look like what you do, okay? So just understand that we have all this backed up, and I'm trying to move through because we just have a
But
short.
we're not approaching that, we're not selling direct, we're not doing it, it's under our umbrella, that's it, bottom line, you're not selling it out directly online, nothing.
No.
So I think we haven't fully decided whether we want to be a reseller or not. It's on the table. It's on the table to us. We've had some conversations about it. I just know from in the past when we were a distributor, we underperformed for our partner. And I have some concerns about it, but if your client said, hey, I wanna buy it direct, would you resell it? Of course you would. You know.
Yeah, I mean, really, all options are on the table. I know that you guys are looking at primarily as a service, so a lot of this marketing doesn't necessarily pertain to you. However, this is the nice user guide, English and Spanish. Okay, so basically it tells you how to do it. And also we do the gas as well. And I know that you guys have your own website now, which is
Yeah.
parroting a lot of what we're doing here.
Kat's gonna have a presentation for you later this
Okay.
afternoon. and
Explain the gas.
You're gonna be so impressed.
What do you mean by the gas?
Okay, so gas does not carry an EPA disinfection, so we've talked about disinfecting.
Gasoline, is it?
No.
I gotta say.
Aerosol form.
Aerosol.
No, and it's not a bug bomb either. Okay, you don't set it and run away, okay? Let's talk about each. So the liquid obviously is used to treat surfaces for disinfection, sanitization, and deodorization because it contains the dissolved chlorine dioxide molecule. You want to get in and attack, and I'm going to show you how it works so you understand what a cool thing you've got here.
And mold and mildew.
And fungicide, mold and mildew, yep. The gas basically gets to places and spaces that you cannot reach with the liquid. Okay, so the gas allows you to treat this whole room. Let's take, for example, this room. We had a bunch of cigar smokers in here. They had a big old party the night before, and we're in here and it stinks like crazy. We're like, this is unacceptable. So I can treat all this here down. I can do all that. I can even spray up here, which I would do. If I'm treating this room, I'm going to cover up anything water sensitive. I might remove that artwork, whatever. I'm going to hose it down. Okay? But I can't get up here. I can't get into these speakers. I can't get into this HVAC return. I can't get to all those places and spaces. And guess where the odor likes to go? It hides. It's very small. So the gas allows us to deploy another tool to be able to thoroughly get to all those places and spaces. You can't see it, it's invisible, okay? And it is one of those things where we do that after we're done doing everything else. And I'm gonna walk through the protocol with you real quick. But the gas is used as the 1-2 punch to get rid of all those odors, okay?
And what kind of piece of equipment is utilized for the gas?
Nothing.
Oh, it's just
open
spray.
it up.
Oh,
Yep.
just open up?
Yep. I'll go through that.
Good.
So, here's the nice thing. This all ships dry, and the shelf life on it is indefinite until you mix it. You can have it for 10 years, doesn't matter. It's still good to go. So any inventory on the shelf is good to go as long as it's in its package, you're good to go. Once you mix it, you've got 30 days or less to use it. The cost of shipping and storage, we can put 60 gallons in a small shoebox size of packets. So your footprint in your room or in the maintenance room at your facility is very small. Each case will treat up to 120,000 square feet, so it goes a long ways. We kind of do the math real quick, is even when you apply it, even when you provide the service, you're still treating for less than a penny a square foot. Now, I don't know what you charge for disinfection or deodorization, but I'm probably not that.
No.
So your margin opportunity there is great, yes? And it's a low carbon footprint. Ships light, ships FedEx, and it's stored, there's no liquid, there's no safety regulations and things like that you have to use for storage. There's no spill containment system, none of that. We all take that all out of your way. Safe, again, we've got all the information to back it up. There's no carcinogens, poisons, harmful residues that would potentially open you or us up for liability. And by the way, it is an EPA registered disinfectant, 87508-3, 98419, 90 use sites, 85 surfaces approved.
You guys have to remember that, memorize
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, it's gonna be, did I tell you there's a test?
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
No, I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. No, there's no test. Same thing with the gas. You're gonna treat for pennies a cubic foot. It can treat up to 220 cubic feet per, we call this lovingly the clamshell, okay? So all you do is you basically wet this sponge down, you open up this foil, inside is a Tyvek pouch, you place that in the wetted sponge, dampened sponge, you put that back inside the clamshell, this actual U-card pulls out of here, you put that in the door and it says this space is being treated and do not enter for 6 hours. You put a timestamp on it, walk out the door, you're done. Okay? It's that easy.
So the only reason you'd use the gas is for odor.
Yes.
It's not getting you anything other than
Correct.
surfaces
Well,
the spray does.
We know that it does, but we cannot say that per the E EPA.
So on the tape that goes across the door, does it say it's green? Do you have it on the tape so people feel secure, there's not bug bomb in here? It's carpet ruggeds to green label product, safety, healthy.
We have,
QR code that goes right
we
to the
have
side
QR
of the
code.
Okay.
Yep. I would tell you that everybody here is thinking liquid and thinking disinfection and odorless. I'm gonna tell you that this is becoming your new best friend. Because when the going gets tough, the gas gets going. Because we just did University of Tennessee, and we just got all of their student housing for this product because they had tried everything else. They used the liquid. They said it didn't quite work enough. They went ahead and I said, you need to use the gas, the 1-2 punch.
Yep.
Just got the phone call yesterday that we are 100% on their sold. So don't walk away, don't think just liquid. This is the technology that separates you from the rest of the pack.
You know, listen, if the hillbillies can figure it out.
Question, we've utilized products and they're saying that, you know, you can take a smoking room in a hotel, in a hospitality environment, then you can take a smoking room, make it a non-smoking room with one spray, or one gas out.
How's that working out for you?
I haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah, that's.
Hotels been closed.
So I'll tell you this, that's an excellent point.
Yeah.
And if you think about labor today, how hard is it to hire people? Right?
That's at my department.
Tough. It's so bad at Shaw that we're now having to bring back smoking at our facilities. Now, it's outdoors,
Yep.
but we'd eliminated all tobacco products, smokeless or otherwise, from all Shaw facilities, from any Shaw campus. So now we're having to bring it back. I would imagine a lot of your customers are gonna have to start doing the same thing because studies indicate that there's 40% of the workforce out there that smoke.
Yeah.
So you're eliminating, because who's gonna come to work and not smoke a cigarette for a day if they smoke a pack or 2 packs a day, right? So again, I think to Jim's point, gas is gonna become a big deal for you.
Yep, and stay tuned, again, can't promise any of this, but we've got some IP submitted to the EPA where there is no gas available right now for any sort of sanitization claim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see there's a few airports still in the market that you can smoke inside the airports and the smoking rooms. I'd like to see what that can do.
Let's talk about this, and I'm gonna, if we wanna shift this so the virtual attendees, and I just have a few short minutes, but that's what happens. Sorry, I'm gonna slide that one on you, Randy. Okay, how does this bad boy work? Okay, let's break it down. Hit me with an odor. Curry.
Oh.
Okay, the primary odor with, that's terrible number. The primary odor with curry, this is the one I use, is sulfur. Okay? Keep going.
Cigarettes.
Cigarettes.
Skunk.
Nicotine. That's a mercaptan. I can't draw that out. I'm not gonna be able to draw that physical. But what was the other one?
Nicotine?
Nicotine. So we'll just put that as N. Okay. So we got sulfur. Pot. Terpenes. Okay.
But urine.
Urine.
Fox urine.
Cat urine. Burnt food.
Food smells. We fried fish last night, right? So we really have oil-bearing residues. Those are our
Brussels
oils.
sprouts.
I hope I'm not spelling it inappropriate. Right now it's Tao. So. Anything else?
Pets.
Pets. Got that one covered?
I would say.
Ammonia.
Okay.
Bacteria.
Hold on, we had something.
Like from your car, gas, you go to the gas station, you get
Fumes?
some gas and
Gasoline.
Gasoline smell, very good, yeah, sure, diesel too. Okay, so we're gonna put gas in there, gasoline.
Sean had
Petrol.
one.
How about formaldehyde, a new brand new cars?
Formaldehyde or VOC, volatile organic compound off-gassing. Okay?
Body odor from like a wrestling room.
Ooh.
I think that's someone in the room.
VO. And by the way, I'm a terrible writer. I should have somebody else back here to do this. Okay, what do all these things have in common?
Airborne.
They're an organic molecule. Okay? Doesn't matter. Okay? These are all organic molecules. And as such, they have a structure. Okay? So for example, water, H2O. One hydrogen atom, two oxygen atoms, right? Pretty easy. Okay? Sulfur, SO3, all these different things have, and so here's how ProCure works, very simple, is, that might still be wet. I want you to understand, because this seems like, oh God, here goes Jim, he's going to get all techie on us and lose us, and I don't want to, because I want you to understand how much different this is. So let's take your two main ones, which are ammonia and sulfur, okay? Those are going to take care of your dog pee, your curry, your, BO smell, all that stuff are in here. So let's say we have a molecule that looks like this, with this, and this, and this, and maybe one coming out here like this, okay? So that's just imaginary, but here's the point. We introduce our ClO2 molecule, ClO2, which basically the chemistry is developed back in the 1820s. And the unique thing about chlorine dioxide and SHOP here is that it's a relatively unstable molecule. In other words, it doesn't want to stay how it is. That's why it has a 30-day or less shelf life, because it is a volatile compound. And why that is, so you have chlorine, and then you have all these different molecules, and these are called, right? Kind of looks somewhat like that. It's got a lot of different components to it, but everything in our body is held together by electromagnetic energy, right? I mean, everything in the whole universe is. But chlorine dioxide is unique because it has 3 extra electrons that it doesn't like, and it wants to get rid of them quickly. Okay? So we introduce chlorine dioxide to my sulfur molecule. What happens is those 3 ones that really don't want to live at home anymore, they're tired of it, and what they do is they go in and attach themselves to that one, and to that one, and to that one, because again, they got 3 to give. So guess what? This is no longer a sulfur molecule, because we've ripped electrons away from it. So basically it robs its very essence, and it no longer exists as a sulfur molecule. So it can't stink because it isn't what it was. Because chlorine dioxide went in there and said, thank you, I'll take that one, I'll take that one, I'll take that one. And guess what? You no longer are what you were. You're basically nothing. That's how it works on COVID-SARS-2, the virus that causes COVID-19. Because of the fact that COVID-SARS-2, for example, I know that's probably all top of mind, is what they call a large enveloped virus. And that means that there's 3 different virus designations. There's large enveloped, there's small enveloped, and there's small non-enveloped. And I basically listed those in the order of difficulty. The large enveloped virus, which basically means it's a virus, which is basically, you know why they call it a virus on your computer? Because it's software. COVID-SARS-2 is software. It's not a living thing. And that's why you say, oh, my computer got a virus. So somebody introduced malware into your computer, and now it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Same thing happens in our bodies when a virus is introduced to our bodies, right? So how do we get rid of it? Well, the COVID-SARS-2 molecule is kind of like this. It's got this little fatty layer. The chlorine dioxide, again, I talked to you, remember I said that the virus was 0.00124 nanometers? Chlorine dioxide is 0.0000124 nanometers. In other words, really, really small. So guess what? I can sneak right in there and kaboom, I blow that thing up. And that's how it works against viruses, bacteria, and fungicide. So in an odor, it steals electrons and basically rips them away, makes them cease to exist as they were. And chlorine Shaw Pure basically goes in and destroys bacteria, living thing, virus, non-living thing, malware, okay, and fungicide, living thing. It all works like that. It's smaller than what it's trying to attack, therefore it can slip in and blow it up. I mean, those are very candid terms, but that's how it works. Yes, Kelly?
So we eviscerate. If you would explain how the other competitive products work.
Okay. So, if I'm using a bleach, which is NaCl2, I basically go in there, and because the virus wants to check me out, I basically poison it, and it has to literally eat it. It sucks it in, it eats it, and it poisons it to death. Okay? Same thing with phenols, Lysol. Peroxide is an oxidizer as well. Okay? But all the other remediation type products that portend to remove or reduce viral, bacterial, pathogenic load all work on the premise of poison and ingestion.
Which is why it has to have a dwell time of 10 minutes.
Right. Actually 30.
And then Jim, so chlorine dioxide changes the composition of the odor molecule. Can you please explain what some of the competition does to hide or weight down the odor?
Yeah, so show me a deodorizer that's in your toolbox that doesn't have a cover scent. Can you think of one?
Doesn't have a what?
Doesn't have a fragrance.
Water.
Vital oxide.
Vital oxide.
That doesn't have a fragrance?
No?
Not really, it's a clean smell.
No, it smells like a hospital when it's done.
Right, so it does have a fragrance.
Oh, I mean, it's clean.
This has no fragrance added. And think about over the counter. Lysol has a smell, bleach has a smell, Fabuloso has a smell.
Yeah.
Ask yourself why you need a fragrance.
Perception.
Perception,
Yeah.
and also to cover the fact that I am inadequate and not quite as effective as I should be. Again, Vital Oxide is not a deodorizer per se, they're primarily a disinfectant.
So
Okay,
it's like
so
high school athletes.
I'm talking about deodorizer only.
So it's like high school athletes using Axe body spray instead of taking a shower.
Yeah.
I may be off road.
That makes
Tell me about
sense.
these new UV machines out there. that they're trying to-
UVC?
Yeah.
Um,
I know it's coming.
really was a hot topic initially on, and the data has not proven out the marketing claims.
Why are the airlines purchasing all these robots now?
You know, they're desperate for something that won't screw up their electronics and they can do quickly. The problem is that the data that I've seen and others is that if we were all in here with a flashlight, and again, we're talking about virus, small, where do you think virus is gonna hide?
Nooks, crannies, and
Places where light's not gonna get to it. And the dwell time needs to be, UVC has been around forever. Every time you go into a butcher shop or a grocery store, I don't remember,
Barber
you
shop.
remember the kid, a barber shop, the purple whatever light? It's been around forever. Again, these are all tried, I don't wanna say failed, they were what we had, right? And not that they don't work, they just don't work as well. Let's talk about not working as well. So everybody get out their pen and paper. Okay? And I want you to draw a dot about like that on your paper, obviously corresponding, okay? And then next to that dot, I would like you to write the number 1 million. Does everybody know like what an ATP meter is?
No.
ATP meter is what you use to test a load. So if we were to take an ATP meter, and I had this done to me, which was kind of gross, but we're just going to take a Q-tip thing and we're going to swab the surface of this. I'm going to stick it in this machine made by 3M, and it's going to tell me my bacterial count. They're expensive. They're not terrible, but it's a really great way to demonstrate how effective you. Because Randy said, how do you demonstrate disinfection? Well, that is one way you can demonstrate disinfection. We actually have some of the data behind this. But, so you wrote down 1 million. So believe it or not, if I were to take my ATP meter and I was gonna measure my dot, and measure the dot that you just drew on the piece of paper, I would measure roughly 1 million bacteria, virus, and fungicide spores in that size of that dot. Give or take. Okay, but I'd be pretty close, 1 million. So let's take again, size matters. I know that we all told it doesn't, but it does, okay? And let's talk about some of the other products in the marketplace and see what they actually claim and what they actually can do, okay? So for example, let's take Lysol, okay? Very commonly used product, sanitizer. And does everybody know the difference between cleaner, sanitizer, and disinfection?
Yes.
Okay, most people? We'll go through it at the end here, just real quick, just a refresher. Again, a lot of this, unfortunately, might be remedial for everybody in the room, but I want to make sure you understand what you have and the firepower you have is incredible. So Lysol is 99.9%. How's that sound? Good?
Fantastic.
Sounds fantastic. That's a 3-log kill. And in the world of disinfection, that's 3 logs. So what I want you to do is cross out 3 of the last 3 zeros. That's what Lysol just gave you. But guess what? Remember we talked about how all the other products work? They poison things. You ever heard of pesticide resistance or antibiotic resistance? Sure. We just eliminated 99.9. So in the world of biology, we still have 1,000 viable virus, bacteria, fungi left in that pencil dot. And guess what they've gotten used to? Your Lysol. So they're maybe not as weak as they were. So this is basically, if you get a 3-log kill, that is sanitization. Okay? Now what I'd like you to do is now cross out the last 3 zeros in your 1 million. And that is Shaw Pure. And that is a 6-log kill.
99.99.
99.9999.
4 nines.
4 nines. After the integer.
So 3 nines gets you on the in list, right?
Correct.
So you're 1 more.
Yep.
Well, Lysol's 99.9, right?
Yeah, which is a 3-log kill.
Here's the 99.9999.
Which is a 6 log.
So Lysol's
Which is
not a
6 log.
disinfectant.
Correct.
Lysol's not a disinfectant.
It's a sanitizer.
Sanitizer.
When you get here, this is where you're disinfecting. But even if I was at a 5-log kill, I still have 100 exposed virus, bacteria, etc. If I was at a 4-log kill, 5-log kill, I still got 10. You cannot get better in the real world less than 1. The only way you can get there is stick yourself in an autoclave, and that would not go well for you. Okay? And expose yourself to extremely high temperatures, etc. That's a demonstration as to what you have. So Shaw Pure is the firepower that, really gives you. Oh, here it is. Sorry. So again, we're running up against it. It is on the EPA's list in, but I really want you to think about disinfection as part of the conversation and more. Again, now that, does everybody feel comfortable how I explain how the actual products work from a mechanical standpoint?
Yes.
Again, it's like a highway robber or whatever. It's going to take whatever it can and remove, and you're no longer an ammonia molecule. You're no longer a sulfur molecule. Okay? Same is true with disinfection.
I just want to tell you guys too, I had to learn this not too long ago. And it's easy, but it's not easy, right? And so we're developing for you digitally and a sort of like a flip thing if you don't have a digital opportunity. Yeah, to sort of walk you through the presentation, co-branded. We just didn't get it printed in time, but we're fine tuning it.
So, disinfectants, when they first came out and had the EPA certification, what did they all have in common? They were good for use on what? Hard surfaces. Two-dimensional surfaces, right? Look at the last two words, hyphenated and the last word in that little description there.
Fighting the next virus?
Emerging viral pathogen. So we not only have large enveloped, small enveloped, and small non-enveloped, which is things like polio, norovirus, really hard to kill bacteria and viruses. But we also have the designation by the EPA as EVP. Because of the mechanics, we know that if it's an organic molecule, we can kill it. We can make it go away. So the EPA has given us certification to say that we have emerging viral pathogen. God forbid, but what's next? You got it with Shaw Pure. Other products might not have that accreditation.
So would this would kill all the variation?
Absolutely. Mechanics don't change.
Even the
What's it killed on?
Even the brand new one in Florida that just got announced this week, it doesn't even have the Greek alphabet assigned to it.
The new, the new claim, we originally were 10 minutes, and the new EPA claim is 30 seconds.
But again, top portion, use against SARS-CoV-2, the virus responsible for COVID, on hard,
Non-porous.
non-porous surfaces.
Yep.
Is there another product that can claim that?
Well, there's some that can get to that claim, but they can't get to it in 30 seconds and be EPA registered. So this is rarefied air that you're in.
And this is application, you don't have to wipe, you don't have to do anything.
Spray and walk away.
Spray and walk away.
Imagine the time savings there.
So it's fair to say that Shaw Pure is the only product on the market that can kill in 30 seconds hard and soft surfaces and emerging pathogens.
Not accurate, there are some others, but if you were to continue with that sentence, that is approved for interior finishes. I could throw gasoline on and light a match and kill everything in there, but unfortunately I would have burned the place down, right? You know, that's the challenge. There are other disinfectants that are good, but they do not play nicely with interior finishes. They yellow enameled appliances. They ruin stainless steel. They ruin any metal. So again, there are other things. There is nothing, to be accurate, there's nothing that I am aware of that does more safely than Shaw Pure. There's nothing in that market that not only works that well, but also doesn't ruin everything along the way.
How does vinyl oxide stack up, because we've been running with it for a long time?
I promise not to talk about that.
You can talk about it.
So vinyl oxide pretends to have chlorine dioxide as their primary tool of disinfection. It is not a deodorizer, it is just a disinfectant, and really we were approached by them and went quite a ways. Unfortunately, vinyl oxide is some of the ingredients there are not acceptable to Shaw Industries because of their nature. And I would just say, well, also through the testing, we shared this with Randy, is that while I say nothing bad about them, just to say that their chemistry makeup was not a good fit from a materials compatibility standpoint with our products.
Follow up on that. I know with vinyl oxide, when you're in the room and you spray it and you smell it, your nose starts running, you kill all the bacteria that it comes into contact with. Same thing with Shaw Pure?
No, not the same thing, because again, we're fundamentally different. If you read their SDS, they have many pictograms that we do not have. So,
I don't know what a pictogram is.
the little symbol that says, don't do this, don't do that, get the heck out of there. Basically, when you read the SDS, you know, we don't share the same SDS warnings that the product would. And again, I gotta be very careful here, because I do not want to pretend in any way it is a different proprietary mixture. Shaw Pure does not rely on any of the other products. It is just chlorine dioxide.
But for people that, you know, if you're spraying it, you're in the subways and somebody walks by 10 seconds after.
You're fine.
Okay.
It is EPA approved. It is no PPE. It does not require evacuation or egress to any degree by using that product. It's fine. At the level, yes, sir.
Did I understand, you said you spray and walk away, but you said if you spray, you leave these, residue?
So if I'm doing that glass divider wall,
Yeah.
the residue, the spots that you're gonna see is from your water, not from the product.
I only ask because I know where Mark is going, we
Yeah.
do the subways, and he's thinking spray, but the inspectors don't want anything on the turnstile, so the next person that walks by, we have to wipe it off.
Yeah, let it set for 30 seconds and wipe it.
Yep,
Yep.
that's what we do.
Yep, yeah, and also you can apply this with a microfiber towel or rag or cotton, doesn't matter.
So if you were to, right now we spray and wipe, if we sprayed it on the rag, could we wipe?
Absolutely, that's what I was gonna say, you just wet your rag down and go ahead and wipe away. Yes, Lane?
So the,
Sorry, both of you raised your hand.
No, go ahead.
Lane.
Is it only on
It's a
hard
two-way
surface, which is what I understood, or is it hard and soft surface?
Hard and soft, yeah, sorry.
I thought I heard hard and soft.
Hard and soft for deodorization, hard for disinfection sanitization.
okay.
Yeah.
for now.
Perfect to use for deodorization on really all surfaces. Wood substrates, gyp floors, lightweight concrete where a lot of the odor goes. Anytime you have a flood, water damage, it's safe to use on any of those surfaces for deodorization. We do not have any claims today on soft surface for disinfection sanitization, which is the highest that you would get. Caveat there, many of the products that pretend to have that are now being reviewed by the EPA, and that list is gonna get very narrow, real quick. So, a lot of it was memorialized, yes.
So this is gonna be audience participation question. How many people had a Nextel or a BlackBerry when they were first introduced? Raise your hand and keep your hands up. How many people have an iPhone or some kind of Android device that you bought in the last year? Keep your hands up. Okay. Keep them up.
Put your foot up.
So, who's got a generation iPhone 4 or older? Keep your hand up. So that's the difference, really, is it's innovation. It doesn't mean that what you've been using wasn't an awesome product. We're just saying innovation has allowed us to improve it, and I think that's the story that you have to.
And I'm glad Lane said it the way he said it, because I was gonna just weigh in as well. We're not gonna go out and say vinyl oxide is bad. We're gonna say at the time COVID hit, it was the best product available at that time. This product did not exist at that time.
So Artie Weiss question,
Yeah.
we probably still have a ton of vinyl oxide left, right?
We have, I don't know how much we have. You've got more, I think, than he does.
I got 255 gallons on.
Moving forward, are we going away from vinyl oxide and strictly with the Shaw product, or are we gonna do both? or
Well,
what?
it's more complex than that, because some clients have been, we've sent them an MSDS or an SDS sheet on vinyl oxide or spray 9 at the subways. And, they go through that vetting period, which takes forever. So even if we walked in tomorrow with this product, we're not just weeks away from getting it approved. It's gonna take a while. But on new opportunities, then we'll be using this.
Okay.
But, the short answer is long-term, as long as this is the best mousetrap out there, that's what we're gonna use.
Sure.
We really don't want multiple products.
Randy, so this absolutely fits in the perfect of our circle.
Yeah.
Right in play, right?
Sure. Have the deodorizing on top of the disinfectant.
Did you share that with them, our circle?
Good question. What do you do, does it have any effectiveness after you spray it, once it's dry? No.
It's not a persistent.
It kills what was there, but it doesn't have any static capabilities, and you would find that the vast majority of those claims are somewhat dubious. If they do rely on quaternary compounds, and just understand that anything with quats in it, quaternary ammonium, is under review through the California Biorisk Advisory Council and many other things, because it's everywhere. It's in your toothpaste, it's in every little thing that they put in here, and just like PFAS and other things, this is the new. So I would tell you that anything with quats, they've been around forever. they're finding they're not as safe as what they thought they were.
Just a question, because you asked about like residual. Those tend to be more like bacterial or for fungus.
Exactly.
Everything I saw was virus. Does this stuff kill like bacteria and fungus
Oh,
also?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I could go on down the list, but, MRSA, E. coli, Salmonella. I didn't mention that this is safe for pets as well, so it has EPA registered claims on Bordetella, canine parvo, feline parvo. So in a pet amenity space, not only are you killing the odor, but you're also killing a lot of these bacteria things that tend to transmit from animal to animal. Community dog watering stations are big in New York, right? You can treat those and kill what's there. And we have a whole list of EPA, again, these are all EPA, if you make a claim against a certain bug, you gotta be able to back it up.
It's actually, we have a whole list in your presentation that says every single thing it kills. And I'd like to make a suggestion and run it by you guys. We're already a half an hour behind schedule. Lunch has been here. How do you feel about breaking now, everybody grabbing some lunch, coming back? And these are important questions. We can keep talking. We'll work through lunch and then get Alyssa going so we can get you the more information. Okay.
Yes. So just in summary real quick, because I know that we gotta keep moving through. Do you understand how Shaw Pure works?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you understand that the liquid is the disinfectant and the gas is a deodorizer?
Yes.
Okay. And would you feel confident talking to one of your customers about it?
Yes.
That's a good morning.
Hey, Jim, one follow-up question on the quants before we go. Hospital specific, I mean, those folks use nothing, so if we get them sold on Pure for disinfecting and sanitization, what would we recommend that they use just for regular cleaning?
Well, a lot of people, this is a cleaner as well.
But if you take the quants out of what they're using right now and use Pure with
You could use
their
Pure,
cleaning
right,
solution?
as a cleaning solution as well. Absolutely.
Again, to show you our risk aversion, this is a hospital grade disinfectant.
Right, no, I
But
saw
we did not,
I saw that, but it's a different step up to go in and say, your
Yes.
clocks could probably be bad, you might wanna start thinking about a replacement, and
Well-
this would be the perfect.
If you look at all the Stryker and the hospital beds in said hospital in Mount Sinai or wherever you're looking at,
Anyone you walk into.
they're all cracked. You know why that is? Because of quats.
Yeah.
Quats destroy plastics. They yellow plastics. You look at every operating bed, every bed in a hospital, all the plastic will be cracked. That's because of quats.
well,
So if it does that to that, imagine what it does to flooring. Now again, they get away with it because they got VCT with sacrificial finish replaced or some high-powered LVP, etc. But I would also tell you, when you walk through the airport, have you ever had this squeak, 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 squeak on your shoes?
Yeah.
That's a 100% sign of quats. That's your quat meter, your quat detector. When you start squeaking and you're not playing basketball at the local gym, you're walking on quats.
So I invite everybody to grab some lunch in the room here. We'll come back and keep going.
Okay, virtual team, we're taking a quick break and then.
Go to your refrigerator and then come back.
make a bologna sandwich.
Especially for smoke and curry, if you do not clean before you treat, you will not be, I don't care what you use. You have to break that oily film. Okay, so make sure that in your protocol, cleaning prior to treatment is part of that. Now, once you do clean it for ongoing, let's say daily or weekly disinfection, that's not necessary, but if you're going into a space that has been smoked in for a year, you must clean everything in that unit prior to treatment or it won't work very well. You'll probably get about 60–70% reduction. But again, water and oil and things like cigarette smoke, pot smoke, curry, those are all oil-bearing odors. They have an oily film to them. You must break that oily film in order to get after that molecule. So again, same old thing, clean before you treat, and you're always gonna be very successful.
Since you're changing, say, the molecule, what does it then become? So what would it,
You know what?
then become
It's
when
another-
you
Yeah,
take
that-
you still remain with enough?
That's another great thing. So what happens to all this magic once we're done applying it? The only residual to Shaw Pure is water and a small amount of salt. So about the salinity of a human tear. So hardly any salt at all. Sodium molecule and it just it's inert. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So
Jim, what about obviously curtains, carpet can hold odors, possibly even the bedding, or maybe the top, whatever, the quilt or whatever.
had just great success with this.
Sheet, what about, it's in the sheet, sheetrock,
Yep.
I feel like, it just holds,
Yep.
it's paper, right?
Yep.
So-
Paper with calcium carbonate, limestone.
And you can't
etc.
over wet that, right, but.
Well, this is why I really recommend the 1-2 punch of the liquid and the gas, because the gas has a smaller molecule size, able to penetrate, but again, bringing up, trying to rush this a little bit today. If you want to be successful, clean and then treat before you do anything else. Before you paint, before you install new flooring, before you do anything. Because if I always make the statement is, if you just think about this, if I can touch it, I can make it go away. If I can't touch it because you put a fresh coat of paint on it, or put new flooring down, I can't make it go away. I gotta be able to make physical contact with the source in order to make it go away. You asked a question about treatment and what about wall fabrics and what about dividers and what about this and what about that. The rule is quite simple. If it's sensitive to water, it will be sensitive to Shaw Pure. Okay, so in other words, if you've got fine silk or something very elaborate tapestry or some sort of upholstered fabric like a Haitian or chenille cotton, things like that, things that you would not clean with water, do not treat with Shaw Pure because it's a water-based treatment protocol. Those are very marginalized, they're very few, but they are there. Always test before you treat. Don't ever assume that something is something until you know that it is. And then I want you to think about revenue opportunities, especially in the multifamily space. Think about, right now, what's hard to get a hold of? Everything, right?
Everything.
Refrigerators is a big one. 6-month back order. You can go in and treat a refrigerator in about 10 minutes. You can clean it out, spray it down with Shaw Pure, shut the door, and that in about 30 minutes or so, that refrigerator is going to smell like it rolled off the showroom floor. It's sanitized and it's deodorized. So,
I think the restaurant industry would be huge with all the organic smells.
garbage chutes, corridor common area, any sort of pet amenity space. Just, follow your nose. Your nose is gonna lead you to dollar bills here. That's just the bottom line.
So whoever's got this area, there's a building less than a mile from here, 55510. You walk by the building, the ammonia smell from all the pet urine is ridiculous. 55510 is the building.
10th Avenue?
It's like, it's on the corner of either 9th or 10th, probably 10th, right?
Yeah, hi.
And, let's see, we were on 48, like 47th, somewhere in there. It's right on, it's on the northwest corner.
It's a pet store?
No, it's an apartment building that allows pets, but it's bad. Yeah, exactly. I gotta tell you guys a quick story. I told you the story about how Sean, my son, my oldest child, he had just graduated, or was about to graduate college. He was home because of COVID. And I love this product so much that I was going to allow my son to open a company to just sell this product. Like, that's how strongly I believed in it. And, but now it had been COVID, so the last time Jim Manis was in town, we mixed up a thing of mixed up a thing of Shaw Pure, and we did a demonstration. And so I was telling my son and his buddy about how great it worked and how we test it. And unfortunately, you're all eating, but the way that that we'll do this demonstration, and I'll do this with you, you know, when we do a little bit more training, going forward. But we use fox urine because it's so stinky. And it's a fox urine cover scent. And so, you spray it on a block of wood, and you pass it around, you let everybody, you know, ultimately everybody is, oh, that's awful, you know? And then you spray it with shop urine, within seconds, the odor is completely gone. So, that demonstration had been done, and then Jim laughs because the last demonstration, or the last Shaw Total Care training he did was in New York. COVID hit, and then the first Shaw Total Care training he did was also in New York. So, it had been about 8 months since that presentation. I was telling Sean about this thing, and I'm like, you know, I'm gonna go get it. I have that bottle that we used. It's in the garage, but it's been sitting there for 8 months, and it's really only good for 30 days. And so I said, it's not gonna work, you guys, but this is what it looks like when you do the presentation. Sean, I'm not kidding, within seconds, was it gone? It was gone. They were like, what? And, but that's how, you know, of course, we're not gonna say, really, it's good for 8 months, but, you know, we never want you to say that, but in fact, it was still efficacious. Probably not for disinfection, but for, you know, odorization, deodorization.
Oh.
How much,
This can't be brought to a
how
consumer
much is
level
it?
because of the EPA.
how much is fox urine?
Oh, it's not a lot. It's very inexpensive.
Depends on where you buy it.
Has the box.
Yeah, I use it when I go deer hunting, we spray it on our boots when we're ground blind.
It's
That way they
fun.
don't smell us.
It's like $10. It's not,
Believe it or not,
it's not
that's what.
expensive.
It's pungent stuff.
Remediation tested against.
It's like $5 at Walmart, but they're just kinda bad, and then
But
It's just not everybody has it.
Dick's, yeah.
And this can't be.
Dick's and Walmart, the only two stores like
Not
that.
every house will have it.
No, and actually neither of those had it when I was looking for it. I had to go to a camping, it was like a camping center, like, yeah.
Oh, because you put it on your shoes.
Well, if you're gonna ground blind and you're hunting deer, or you made your own ground blind, you don't want them to smell you.
Technology says.
And fox urine will cover your scent, cause they have really good noses, they have bad eyesight.
Structures.
So they'll only smell the fox urine and be like, oh, there's nothing to worry about, they'll come on up. But it's
Which, the problem is, with this gauge, they get filled up with skin oils and dead skin cells, so they no longer can cut.
This can't be brought to a consumer level because it's EPA regulated.
No,
By
the
the way,
EPA
they're ineffective after 4 days.
is a regulating body that certifies that it's safe and effective and so on and so forth. It can be brought to a consumer level. Shaw just chose to partner with Artie Weiss in this way on a bigger scale, but no, it could be sold at, you know, by the bottle, but it's only good for 30 days, you gotta, you know what I mean, so
I
it's,
think depending on the state though, because I think there's regulations basically you would have to, actually have, a pesticide spraying license in order to spray anything that is on the EPA regulated list.
Interface the one.
So I just don't want the
when
average person to
when
smell it.
I open my
I
business
don't
here,
know, let's ask Jim about that.
I never.
It's a good question.
I don't think that's the case with this.
I was-
We're just not ready for a consumer model.
Review that.
Okay.
Because the quantities are so large, we're not interested in selling one bottle to Mrs. Smith. We're interested in selling, you know, 5 gallons, 20 gallons, truckloads, pallet, that kind of thing.
Well, hey, my portion is I'm gonna be here obviously,
Jim, we have one more question.
oh, sorry.
So this product couldn't be brought to say consumer level, is that due because of the EPA regulation and then requirements needing to have like pesticide license to spray anything that is on the EPA list?
So you do not need a pesticide license to apply this product. Okay, so that's one truth. From a consumer-facing brand, we don't really feel like at this time this would be consumer-facing today. Just because you've gotta mix it and there's some protocol to follow, and if it's not, I open up the bottle and start spraying, then it's no good, right? Unfortunately, yeah, go ahead.
That penny a square foot figure is based on bulk buy. You start, you know, breaking it down into quarts, it'd be $15, $20 cost for a quart bottle. What consumer's gonna pay that?
when they've been buying livestock for $5.
Right.
So
And it
it's
goes
just-
bad in 30 days.
It's not a B2C model, it's a B2B model. Not that you couldn't do it, we're just not set up. Yeah.
So let's talk about the go bad in 30 days, because I think that's not, like, kind of turned into an all or nothing conversation. Accurate to say that after a set amount of time, it does drift below 100 ppm, which is where everything is designed to be mixed and made. At 90, is it useless? Heck no. It'll still deodorize like crazy. At 50, it'll deodorize like crazy. You might need more of it. You know what, fruits and vegetables are treated at 5 ppm, 5, for sanitization, you know, remove mold and mildew. So it's not junk. It's just that for an EPA registration, it needs to be at 100 ppm for disinfection. So understand that if you're disinfecting, you want to make sure you're at the numbers. If you're deodorizing, you can afford to use maybe material that's a little mature.
Plus, we have a test strip.
Yeah, we have provide test strips, so you always know right where it's at. But trust me when I say this, you will use the product. You will find so many uses for this that will not be an issue.
So how do we get it?
I actually graduated my training, so.
No, there's a bias.
You asked the right question.
Dual apprenticeship, usually don't do that because I was a resident.
Okay, are we ready to transition?
We are.
Okay. So, as I said in the opening comments, selling this product is not gonna happen when you send an email with a link to our website. If you think it will, you might as well skip the rest of the day. This is not I sent them I sent them an email. This is a hands-on, in the chair, in front of the customer, telling the story and putting all the pieces together you heard about today. So through coincidence, we learned that Shaw has somebody in the organization, Melissa, who is very familiar with the power of storytelling. So I'm gonna turn it over to her now to walk us through the next phase.
Blaine, do you want to add anything?
No, because of time, let's just get right drum roll.
Okay.
Can we check that, make sure they're not muted? I just got a text from somebody that they're not hearing, so. We have them muted somehow. You're not, you are muted.
Are you guys there? Can you hear us?
That's there, thank you.
Thank
Okay, thanks. Yes, the desserts.
Great, Jim, could you minimize the volume? All right, perfect. Well, thank you, Randy, and thank you, Kelly and Lane, for inviting me up to facilitate this workshop today. We are going to be talking about storytelling and sales. My name is Alyssa Radomski, and I'll be the facilitator today. Questions, thoughts, and comments all throughout the workshop. We want this to be as interactive as possible. So we'll start off with a video to level set and kind of get your minds in the frame of storytelling. I'll throw some research at you, some neuroscience and some case studies. Then I'll explain the 4 main types of stories that are the most impactful within sales and business. There are a lot of storylines out there, a lot of plot lines, but there's 4 key ones that will be the most beneficial. Then we'll talk about when to storytell and bringing that about in a very organic way within conversation while you're working with your customers. We'll have a group exercise at the end and also save some time for Q&A. So we'll go ahead and start the video.
Today, everyone is talking about storytelling as a leadership skill. It's the hot new idea that isn't new at all. When it comes to influence and bringing people together, it's the oldest idea. Our earliest glimpses of storytelling come from cave paintings in France from 30,000 years ago. And we see that the human capability was already astonishingly advanced. From the campfire to today's corporate boardroom, leaders are looking at this old capability in new ways. And they're rediscovering that story is the most efficient path to creating connection, engagement, and shared meaning. This is about your influence as a leader. And today, leaders around the world are connecting the power of story to the most urgent work. That includes how we manage knowledge. In our complex world, the nature of information is changing. There are some kinds of information that are easy to capture and archive in a spreadsheet, such as data, outputs, events. But then there's the other kind of information, the hard stuff, decisions, knowledge, wisdom, are all difficult to archive after the event. And story is the most efficient container for this kind of complex information. Story connects to how we engage talent. The millennial generation is motivated by purpose more than money, and it's not enough to answer what or how. The new generation of talent wants to know why. And if you can tell stories that bring people into the deeper purpose of your work, they will follow, and they will bring both passion and innovation. Story connects to creating value. Why does a game jersey worn by David Beckham command big bids at auctions? It's not because of the quality of the material, it's the story. And as leaders, what are the stories you should be telling about your offerings to increase engagement and raise their value? Story connects to identity. Who are we becoming in our organization? What matters most to us? What are we creating? This is the ultimate expression of storytelling, defining our future story as an organization and as leaders. Story is the path to creating the future we desire. And that's just the beginning. Stories connect to change management, strategy development, culture and values, branding, visioning work, and much more.
Alright, so from that video, what stood out to you all in terms of storytelling?
That millennials aren't interested in money?
That's what I wanted to do.
Right, so
What?
the what and the how, it's not enough. We have to know the why. And storytelling gives that beginning, middle, and end to the why. So getting into some of the research, as the video mentioned, storytelling is not new. It's our human nature to share what we see, what we think, what we feel with our tribe and those around us. And we see that within our companies too. So storytelling within these cave paintings has that beginning, middle, and end. And we'll get into the plot lines further on. So the neuroscience of storytelling taps into the part of the brain that is actually responsible for memory retention. It's not enough just to give data and dry statistics. Storytelling is a way to visualize things that you are saying out loud. So when we storytell from a business and sales perspective, things become much more interesting. And the best part of stories is that they tap into the brain responsible for not only memory retention, but also emotions. Now, emotions we know are one of the top drivers for business decisions because people will forget what you say, they'll forget what you do, but they always remember how you make them feel. So Lane actually brought up a really fantastic point in our previous storytelling in business class, and that was understanding the audience and the theory of left brain versus right brain thinking. The theory is that those who are left-brained, they're said to be a bit more methodical in their thinking. If you're a bit more right-brained, you're more creative or artistic. Now, with storytelling, what it actually does in the brain is it fires both sides, left and right. Especially when you're pairing data with storytelling, that accounts for both of the parts of the brain, no matter if you know how your client may be, maybe it's the first time you're meeting them, but there's subtle nuances that can kind of give you a clue as to which part of their brain is more dominant. So that may be how they take their notes. Maybe it's chicken scratch and there's drawings all over the page. Maybe it's bullet points and how they write their emails. There's these subtle ways in how we can use storytelling to leverage what our message is and how it relates to the person you're talking to. So what do you think are some additional benefits to storytelling along what we've already discussed so far? Possibly building stronger relationships.
Closer, a stronger personal connection with your audience.
Absolutely. So it helps build strong relationships. And to Randy's point, it adds value to product. So if we're talking about something that you can't see necessarily, you can't taste, and it's hard to demonstrate it, storytelling can leverage the product to give it much more value that meets the eye. It also makes you memorable, and storytelling can be a part of your trademark experience. It will encourage the audience to engage and actually care about what you're saying, because we're tapping into information paired with emotion. And probably the most tried and true and impactful storytelling benefit is that you can develop a viral narrative. So these are word of mouth stories that your customers will want to share with their customers, that will want to spread the message to the consumer. So that word of mouth, classic tried and true benefit, it still remains true today, even in the digital world.
Alyssa,
Yes.
so one of the things that we found out about the emotional side and doing some research on this is, I'm extremely analytical. So you need to get to the point and tell me what you want, and then I'll make a decision. But most people are not that way. Most people use the other side of their brain, the emotional side, a lot more. And what you have to do is be able to understand the difference. But with the emotional part, 75%, literally, 75% of business decisions are made from an emotional standpoint. They use the other 25% of the analytical side to justify what they want to do because of the emotion that you evoke. So again, being more important to the person in front of you is more key than having a lower priced product, long term.
Absolutely. So alongside that, we did a case study, and we found, or Forrester Research did a case study that we found in our research where they asked 319 executive level buyers in North America and Europe how prepared their salesperson was when they called on them. 62% knew about the company and the product mix, which is to be expected. 42% had knowledge of the buyer's history, but only 21% had relevant examples to back up what they were saying. So when we boiled this down, 1 out of 5 salespeople in this case study actually told stories.
So Randy mentioned Simon Sinek last night. If you guys listen to any of his podcasts, you know he's big on the why. So if you look at the 62%, you think about that in those terms, that's really the what.
Mm-hmm.
The 42%, the buyer's history, is the how. But where we fail at as a sales force, typically, more often than not, is the why. And that is the relevant examples and the stories that we attach to our pitch that should become a story rather than pitch.
100%. So what does this mean? It means that storytelling is a gold mine. It's an untapped opportunity to differentiate yourself from the competition and provide more memorable and inspiring experiences for your customers. And we'll actually get into a part of this presentation where we go into the story types, the 4 most impactful ones, and have Shaw examples. And also, outside of Shaw, just the media landscape in general, movies, books, things that we know and love and grew up with. So much of storytelling is around us in our everyday. So we have 2 more statistics for you in case you haven't gotten into storytelling yet. The London School of Business and Finance found that people retain 65 to 70% of information shared through stories, while only 5 to 10% of information retained through dry presentations and statistics. So what does that look like in action? Is that this part of the presentation is not as memorable as the stories that we'll get into later. Princeton researchers also found and argue that people tend to challenge arguments based on their perception of facts. So if I'm about the bottom line and I have this fact of what I need or this fact of what my experience has shown, I want to challenge that fact to be debunked. However, storytelling is a gray area within sales that we can use to stimulate parts of the brain associated with empathy. And furthermore, a team of researchers in the UK found that the brains of people who listen to character-driven stories actually released oxytocin, so that love chemical of empathy. So empathy, love, emotions, tapping into that when paired with data is an amazing marriage that your customers can't argue with. So the 4 main types of stories: an analogy, the hero's journey, bridging the gap, evidence results. On this slide, and also in your booklets too, there's a recap of all of this. Now what this shows us as an overview is that storytelling is a skill. It's not something you're born with. It's not something for only creative people or strong communicators or the select few. storytelling is something that we can all implement in our everyday in subtle and conscious ways. So we'll get into a deep dive of each of these with shop here examples and media examples. Alright, so an analogy. Oh, yes, Lynn.
So real quick, in your little booklet right here, there's actually places for notes if you guys want to take any notes. That way it's actually in the brochure rather than on a separate notepad. And we're on page 10.
Yes, thank you, Lane. So an analogy is a similarity between two different things, like a bird and a plane, but they share similar traits. So this is a really effective way for explaining complicated ideas to customers who may not understand exactly what you're talking about. So in our everyday lives, analogies can also look like transferring traits from one thing to another. And we know that this works because there was a study done in the UK about audiences who watched advertisements without an analogy and with an analogy. And over 50% of the audience said that they preferred the advertisements with analogies because there's emotions attached to the product that had a more favorable impression. So what are some analogies that you can think of in addition to like a bird and a plane?
Car and a train.
Like what?
Car and a train.
There you go.
Marijuana and shop here.
Uber and a taxi.
Yeah, so Uber's like a taxi. Okay, so take something really simple, bring it down to layman's terms, something that we all know and love, and it's really great when something like Shop Here, it's new, it's innovative, it's launching, people haven't heard of it before. So we came up with this example. The Shop Here suite of products are like a juggernaut when it comes to odors and germs. So this takes Jim's great example of how our competitors, with the molecular structure and how they go in and they kind of encapsulate it, but Shop Here destroys it, replaces it so there's nothing there. This is a way to explain that, and you can fill in the blank with many different examples, and we'll get into that part of the workshop later on. Alright, one of my favorite movies, in a 1-minute clip, see the impact, oh I can play it right here, of an analogy.
I'm gonna buy a hat.
You want a chocolate? I could eat about 1.5 million of these. Mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
So nearly 3 decades later, it's still the most iconic analogy that's referenced all the time. So that shows that viral narrative where we take those everyday things and apply them to more abstract concepts, or in this case, products. Alright, so the next one is the hero's journey. So the hero's journey is by far the most common and popular storyline in all of Hollywood. It starts off with the context. Maybe you have a main character, and you place the setting, and you have the time period, details about the space that they're in. And then there comes a challenge or a conflict. So maybe in this case it's one of your customers, and you're trying to give an example of how you solved a problem in the past and what your customer went through before. So they face that challenge or conflict, and then the storyline dips down, and there's a turning point or a moment of truth where things have to change in order for there to be a happy ending. And along the way, we're rooting for that main character because we want them to succeed, and we identify with them, and we experience the emotions that they're feeling. And then, as the plot thickens and the resolution comes to be, we have our ending. And that is the happy story that usually sparks a call to action. So within the hero's journey, there's a push and pull usually. So maybe the main character faces high stakes, and then as a result, they experience surprises. They work against the odds, and as a result, they experience real emotion. And as the audience, we feel that emotion. That's why we cry during the Titanic when Rose doesn't share the door. The main character may take a risk. And as a result, they encounter or do things that are unique or different. Maybe they're not sure how things are going to turn out, but they learn lessons along the way, and that becomes the truth of the story. maybe they wanted something desperately, and so they went above and beyond to make a difference and pave a new way. They encountered challenges, setbacks, barriers, and conflicts, but in the end, they still prevail.
So can I add something?
Yes.
So I'll tell you about one of my failures that kind of mimics the hero's journey. I called on this company for 3 years. Couldn't get to square one. Could not figure out for the life of me why, because I think I'm a pretty good salesperson, right? So after 3 years of trying in my analytical, data-driven way, I decided to step back, reevaluate. I put somebody else on the account. Within 6 months, we had a contract written, right? So again, it's not about just taking the no and going to the next customer. It's about maybe understanding why the no came. And it was because I was approaching it completely from the data analytics point, and she wanted a story. She wanted to feel something different. And again, that's why I think this class is so relevant, because